is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to Madeline's Country French Cafe at 3072 Mockingbird Lane, Dallas, Texas, 75205. Give the restaurant a call at 214-696-0800 and tell them you want your reservations to the next activist meeting.
I could point you out or not, whatever you think, but Joanne, I met her the other night, which I'm going to discuss this because I had gone to an event, and it was at the Cottonwood Church. It was about 1,000 people event, and this is what I would call an outreach. And we had it listed in our events to go there, and as people leave, hand them a card, welcome them, and talk to them. And Joanne was one of them. And I gave out almost 300 cards myself that night, and it can be done. Yeah. Really, it can be done. And once you do it, it's fun. So I have little packets for each of you guys, not with, saying they have to be 300, but I've given out a few so far, and there's 10 cards in here. And basically, it just has activistfortruth.com at the top, so that people know that we have the website, and it says that we meet weekly on Mondays here, and all the way through February we're booked on Monday, and I told the manager I want to book through March also. So looks like we're going to be around through March, and so it says the address and the time that we start, and then it says, check the calendar on the website for the topics. We should be trying to get those topics addressed ahead of time. The flyer that I handed out at this event, which was just the other day, Albert, what day was that? Albert had gone a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Okay. On there I had put tonight's event, and then I also put the next week's event, which is going to be fluoride. And then, just a little bit about our other Facebooks. Here, would you ask who has not gotten one of these out, Richard, and hand them to them? Because some of the people that were here already got a packet. Thank you, Richard.
That's the one I had last week.
They're each stapled together.
Yeah, give them a packet. So there's 10. So there's 10 in the packet, and the thing of it is, it's on the card. On the card, it has an email address. On the card, it has an email address, which is my email, and it also has a phone number, which is my phone number. So there's contact information on it. And then it also has on there that we have 3 Facebook pages. And we really want everybody to like the Facebook pages. We started the Facebook page for Activists for Truth in about June, and we're only 3 away from having 1,000 people like it. So that's pretty good. Now a new one that I started a couple months ago, I don't remember when, was Pete Sessions' Stop Walking Benghazi Truth. And that we started with Charles Lingerford. There was about 7 or 8 of us at a table. David Espinoza was one of them, and Eve was there. And we had gone to someone else's event. It was Ken Emanuelson and Katrina Pearson had put together an event attacking some of the topics. And their group is grassrootstexans.net. And they are wonderful because they help facilitate in announcing other people's events. You can go on there and post the events. Well, this particular night, they were wanting to know what anybody wanted to spearhead. And of course, mine is Pete Sessions. He's my congressman. And Charles Lingerford is very passionate, like all of us in this group that got together, was about the 4 that died there. And there's no investigation. And Pete Sessions is the chairman of the Rules Committee. And in the Republican Party, that's a very controlling position, because he can stop things to come to the floor for discussion or vote. And there has been a bill that was put out by a congressman up in Virginia, Frank Wolf, and it's called Resolution 36. And it has, at that time, it had 177 co-sponsors. So there was, and some of the people that are on the committee right now, that Pete Sessions refers to and says we don't need an independent investigation of Benghazi because we have a committee working on it. That would be Daryl Issa. But that committee is working on 5 different topics, and that's part-time even. So we do need an investigation of Benghazi. So that's why it was our passion, and we started that Facebook, and we need more likes on there. But it's just another way to reach a different group of people. So on this little card, the reason I put that on there was so that when people look activists for truth, well, let's see now. Well, they're talking about fluoride in the water, because if people only hear we're fighting fluoride in the water, they're going to think, oh, they're just a local group now. That's their topic. They're health conscious. Some people might hear activists for truth. They'll think we're a religious group or something, you know? I mean, you never know what they're going to think. But if they can see that we're diverse, that we're tackling something like a congressman in Benghazi, it kind of broadens what we are, and we are very broad. So you've heard it before, everybody, but I'm going to say it again. We're an umbrella group. Well, we started this back in May. It was like May 29th. And it was for helping to bring together the people that may not be alike on all topics, but we can find a crossover in some areas and then help each other, you know? And then it's numbers that'll make us be able to have some movement and change, okay? So, what we usually do at our meetings is we talk about what we've done the last week, and every week we've done something, kind of even big things a lot of times, and what we have coming up. So, I will continue a little bit with our what's it called, announcing our new people here, but Carter has brought a guest, I guess, a young man named Xavier back there, and so make him welcome, I hope, and we'll see who else is.
I remember what you said. I was at Costco, and first time he saw me, he saw my truck, and I walked out the front stairs on there. He's like, I like your stickers, well, yesterday. Driving my wife's car, she's got that little gun that says, don't think twice because I won't. It's like, I like your stickers. And I got to think about it, I'm like, wait a minute. And I started telling about the group. I was like, why didn't you just come this morning? It's like, I don't know.
Awesome. And that's what it takes. Thank you. That is activism. It's sometimes, that's what it is. It's just an invitation and letting people know we're here. You know, the idea about us having weekly meetings, and we meet every week, is that it's a place for people to find you again. You might talk to someone in the grocery store or something, and they're like, oh man, I wish I could, but you know, they may not want to call you personally or something like that. But they can come here, you can mingle, you can find out, and it's safe, and it's cheap. It's just a cup of coffee. Hello, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. This must be Bill.
That's Bill, right?
Hi, Bill. I'm Regina. He's one of our speakers here. Have a seat. Welcome, welcome. We're still finishing up on our normal organizational things. So last week, what else did we do? I'm trying to think here. David, what else you got for me here? It's okay. I think that was probably it. Going to that event, handing out the flyers, and following up. People in our group are the Moriartys. And the Moriartys have been on the Power Hour again. Did you get to hear them? Okay. Okay. Awesome. The Moriartys, to give some people a little bit of background here, I'll say it really quick because even if I tried, it would take me a day to say all that they've done. But they're whistleblowers that were business people in Libya. They were there prior to the death of Gaddafi. They witnessed the lifestyle there. They understand why he was taken out. And they were there during the bombing, the NATO bombing. They were held captive by Al-Qaeda. They escaped. They contribute that to 3 miracles, which it is a miracle, whoever escapes. But they got out. They came back home here, and they've been trying to expose the atrocities that are going on over there, that are still going on over there. They were not there during Benghazi, the incident with Stevens, the one that we're trying to expose. But they maintained a contact with the tribal leaders in Libya that are in exile and some that are still there. And through that connection, they have eyewitness reports of what's going on, what has gone on. Well, today, they had a guy he's in exile, and he came on. He lived across the street from the compound, and he witnessed what went on that day before, And so Joyce Riley, The Power Hour, please listen to it. There's a phone number you can call whenever anybody's ready. I'll give you a phone number that you can call to listen to her show. Because she's on, she has about 80,000 listeners a day. And she, you know what, Jerry, I'll let you announce it.
Okay,
Number.
the number is 605-562-7707.
7704.
Oh, 4.
Yes, 04, yes. This number, if you call it after 7 in the morning, her program goes from 7 until 10, and then it'll loop throughout the day. She has great guests on there. Her first hour, she talks about international news, local news, whatever. She kind of just doesn't, her update on the news. And then she has guests after that. Well, it was from 8 until 10 is when she was talking to the Moriartys, and this witness that had called it, Skyped in. So it's amazing. And she's been doing the show since 1995. She said it, and then the owner of the station called her, which I believe was GCN. I've got to find out who it was. Somebody big called in and said, this is the most important show we've ever done. Because what they were saying is we have information that the Moriartys have been trying to get out there, but it's being blocked by our government. And we know who's at the top of this. It's Clinton, it's Obama. They don't want to have it be exposed of what happened that day. 4 of our Americans were left and no one helped them and they died. And there's been no investigation. See, the Benghazi event happened on September 11, 2011. So in 2012, it was a whole year. And there's no investigation going on because they don't want it to. They don't want to expose what's happening over there. So Bill, we'll catch you up on this. I'm not sure if you're into this. Joanne, have a question?
What do you, where is this on the radio? Is it an internet thing? What is it?
Yes, it's a GCN radio, Genesis Communications Network.
Yes.
GCN
Radio.
radio.
There's a lot of good alternative radio programs on there. You can find health radio shows and
Internet radio.
internet radio.
It's internet.
Right, so you can go to GCN Radio and then scroll.
No. It's GCN Live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. Just call the phone number.
L-I-V-E.
Yeah.
Call the phone number and the program loop.
They'll mention the web address
Yeah,
during
they'll mention the
the
web
playback
address.
of the show.
Oh, okay.
But it's also thepowerhour.com. So you can go to thepowerhour.com, go to the top, and it'll show the shows, and then you can drop down and you can have the archive show of today, or listen to what she's talking to. The Moriartys will be on again, I think it's the 23rd, but I wouldn't doubt they're on before then.
They weren't in today.
Excuse me?
They weren't in the Power Hour this morning
That's exactly true.
for 2 hours.
That is right. That's right. So that's something that I take as Activists for Truth event happening this week because the Moriartys first got their platform because of our group. They were coming from California. They were in Houston, and they tried to get a platform for someone to listen to them, but nobody would. And then we kind of opened the door, and then we connected them with the Power Hour, and so it's been taken off since then. Yes, sir.
Each hour of the show has its own link. So if you get to the website and find the archives, for each day they break it down by hour. And if you'll right-click on that link, you can copy that link. So if the show you want your friends to listen to is the second hour, you can, if you're on social media, you can post
That's a good idea.
a teaser to get their attention, and then you can post a link so they don't have to wait through the whole show. They can take them right from the start of each hour.
So if you put that link and they go right to it, no matter what.
That's
That's great.
very powerful on Facebook or whatever to do it that
Yes.
way.
And as activists, just like Carter, one-on-one, talked to someone and then invited them to come, or I handed out a flyer, Another real important way is to use your social media. I don't know who's on Facebook, who's on Twitter. Please, mention that we're here because we want to help other people. It's not just about us. I want more Activists for Truth groups in Fort Worth than everywhere else. We're just a template, We don't, we just want to help expedite the truth getting out, and since the other avenues are not giving the truth, we need to make a truth, a pathway, I guess you'd say. Okay, so let's see. So I think we covered what we did, so now we can talk about what's coming up. Okay, well, there's lots coming up. And there will be more and more coming up. This is the election season coming up. There's going to be more forums, just a lot more events and things going on. But let's start with, I'm going to start with Saturday. It's out of sync here. It's just because it's an ongoing event that we promote and we try to let people know about. It's the third Saturday of the month, and it's called Open Carry. I don't know if you've heard of it, Bill, but you know, the Second Amendment, we have the right to bear arms. Okay? Now, in the state of Texas, it used to be all arms. You could carry a pistol and everything else. It was Texas, right? Well, the pistol or a short gun has to be concealed with a permit and that. But a long gun, a rifle, is very legal to carry anywhere, you know? And people have kind of gotten afraid of guns. Now, guns are not the danger, it's the bad guys, you know? That's what I believe, and I think that really is an accurate way to put it. But people in the beginning, when they'd see someone with a gun, because in Temple, Texas, there was a former soldier walking with his son, and they were doing Boy Scout, you know, picking up stuff, whatever Boy Scouts do, whatever. They're out in the, you know, doing something, you know? Anyway, well, the dad had the gun on, and someone reported, there's a guy out there, he's got a gun, you know? So the police come and ask him why he's got a gun. He goes, well, I'm just walking around with my son, you know, whatever. And that led to Open Carry Texas, this group to start, because this man was arrested in front of his 9-year-old son. His son taped it, shaking and crying because they took the dad away and said, it's okay, it's okay. Well, the dad knows his constitutional rights. He went, he talked, he explained why he was doing this. And since then, there's been a movement out of that to help people. We're trying to help people be comfortable seeing guns, you know? Just because there's a gun does not mean you need to fear, you know? We still all agree we need to worry about bad guys, but you know? So, this was started several months ago, maybe 6 months ago. And so in the beginning there was maybe 20, now there's 50 sometimes, 70, 79, and just they go out to eat lunch together downtown. They meet in Dealey Plaza at 10 o'clock in the morning with their gun on and just walk. And it's husbands, wives, kids, old people, you know. And Dealey Plaza is a good place because it's a good meeting place, parking is good, and there's a lot of tourists sometimes. So these Chinese people will come up and say, hey, can I have a picture with your gun and stuff like that. Media comes out. They do chalk art. I know, we'll talk. so anyways.
I'm wondering who's going to start the discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been really good, and the policemen from day one, the first time I think they had 3 calls, and the police told them, no, we're on this. The police would walk with them. But as the time has gone on, there's always been 1 or 2 undercover police that walk with the group, but they go to Chili's or wherever restaurants they go to, and so like they start at 10, and then they go to lunch around 11 or 12 together and stuff, and then break up. Since then, though, there's been no calls, and the police are happy. Actually, real policemen understand that it's not the gun, it's the bad guy, you know? So, and we have a gentleman who ran for sheriff. This is Kurt Lanius, and yes. My sister is the vice president for a group called Oath Keepers, and that's another group that started along these lines with Stuart Rhodes, and he was a paratrooper guy, and he had jumped out of the airplane and he got hurt, and so he became a lawyer. So he now has the background of being a constitutional lawyer and a soldier, and he doesn't fear guns at all, but he just understands that he has this idea that it's constitutional rights. We have our constitutional rights, and what we don't use, we lose. So we have to exercise our rights. And that's just one of them. It's very peaceful, it's very wonderful, and the people that come, it's fun, you know. So that was that. So that's something we do so the 18th, this 18th is the 3rd Saturday. So that's one of the events. But now we'll go to tomorrow. Tomorrow, there's 2 events tomorrow. There's a candidate forum, and it is going to be at Churchill Recreation Center, and I have the address, and that is between Donald Tuffines and John Corona. And that's for the State Senatorial District 16. And that would be around this area, although the districts, all these districts, and I believe Bill's gonna talk about districts. Districts are weird sometimes, you know? Gerrymandered, yes, there's a name for that. And so, so that's one that I probably won't make it to, but I'll probably go.
Where will that be again?
It's going to be at Church Hill Recreation Center.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yes, tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Meet and greet. You know what? Somehow I didn't copy it, so I'll find it. Okay? But there's another one tomorrow, and I actually reserved 2 extra tickets for this because I think I will make it to this one. And it was free, and it is going to be at Fellowship Bible Church. And Fellowship Bible Church is used quite often for Republican events and stuff like that. And it is right at Park Lane. It's on the east side of 75, right at Park Lane. It used to be a theater, and there's a Sherlock's there, and kind of like TJ Maxx, you know, and so.
And it's hard to find if you haven't been
If
there.
you haven't been there, yeah, it's kind of go behind TJ Maxx and then you'll see the signs. But it is going to be starting at 6:30. The reason I'm going to this one is there's going to be a lot of candidates there. It's let's see, there's going to be Barry Smitheringham, he's running for Attorney General, Ken Paxson and Dan Branch. It's going to be another one of those Q&A. They're going to let everybody talk for 15 minutes and then Q&A for 15 minutes. Railroad Commissioner, so like I say, they're all going to be starting to come out. They're going to be vetting them and talking to them and making platforms available for candidates. I'm going because there's a congressman going to be there, Congressman Steve Stockman. Okay, Steve Stockman is from the Houston area. I don't know, again, gerrymandered, it takes in Orange County and all these areas down there. It's very wide and drawn out. Okay, in June of last year, when I was very passionate about the Benghazi investigation, Steve Stockman in the state of Texas was spearheading, we are going to open this up, we are going to have an investigation about Benghazi. He got 1,000 signatures from, what do they call it? Special ops guys. And he brings this paper and rolls it out, and he was grandstanding. He had pictures of the 4 guys, bigger than this, and they were hung. He rolled them out. He was doing all these radical things, making a stand to show these people got left behind, and we need to stand up for him. He was really rallying a lot. I was like so proud of him. He's doing something, you know. So I called his office and I said, I want to have him come to Dallas. I mean, this is our group, and we're passionate about this. His nemesis is here, Pete Sessions, and he's my congressman. You tell me when. I will make an event around your schedule. I'll pay for you to come here in a hotel. You can stay a couple days. You tell me when. Okay. Well, you have to go through these people. Okay. So I had to fill out a form, which I did. I sent it back. They were nice to me. Oh, okay, let me hear about this, and what do you want to do? And I go, I made it so easy for him. Like, you tell me, you know? And this is your passion, right? Okay, well, that particular girl goes on vacation. Okay, talk to this guy. So I started, I'm still hopeful. I'm believing in this, you know? I'm excited, you know? So talk to this guy. Try to talk to this guy. Okay, oh yeah, we're going to get back to you. We're going to get back to you. Then silence. I was shocked, okay? Yeah, I'm always shocked. But I called and I called and I called. They started saying, oh, hi, well, do you have their email? I go, yes, Dennis, I have their email. I've talked to you a million times. Well, just leave them an email and they'll get back with you. So I have a paper trail of how many times I've done this, to the point where I said, look, Dennis, I'm going to call you every hour. Because he'd say, they're not in yet, or I'm not sure when they're coming back, and all this stuff. Yeah? So I even went to his Facebook, and on his Facebook I said, I don't know if you're aware of the people that are answering your phones, but they're not responding. I did a private message to him and everything. I called his local office, his other office, nothing. Okay, so meanwhile, so I determined after literally 50 times trying to get a hold of him, he must be a bad guy or something, or he's sold out. And generally what I believe is they're either bought out, scared out, or they've always been a plant and they just got you excited to just, you know, divert you or something, you know. So he's going to be there, and and I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm gonna see, you know, I'm gonna go talk to him, I'm gonna, oh boy, yeah, if people didn't know me. I love to be friendly, even my kids all say, don't make me mad. I don't wanna be mad, I wanna be happy, I wanna be nice. You make me mad, you know, or you make me.
Regina, he was at the CSPOA conference with St. Charles when I was there.
That would have been.
He was the only congressman there.
Right.
So I think he has some sincere, he may have staff that are keeping him away from stuff, but I'm glad you're going tomorrow night to see.
Yeah, I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to get to the bottom of it. Now, he is running for governor.
Kurt, is there a chance you could be there as well?
Yeah, I'll try. It's tomorrow night.
Yep,
What
tomorrow.
time?
Tomorrow starting at 6:30.
Yeah, he's, Stockman is running for,
Governor.
no, he's running for senator against Cornyn,
Yes.
against John Cornyn.
What did I say? I
Say
said
governor.
governor.
Yeah,
I do that.
Huffines.
Everybody called me. No, Huffines is a state senator in this area. Cornyn and Corona, the names are weird
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But we have the two state senators, you know, U.S., and that's Cornyn.
Cornyn is the US
Cornyn, yeah, U.S. senator. There you go.
Well, anyway, it'd be really nice if you guys could gang up.
Yeah, well, I actually talked to him at, I don't think Michelle was at that event.
Not that one. Was
Not
that
that
one
one.
like Atlanta? No, she was.
That was in St. Charles, Missouri. And I'm going to the one next week in Las Vegas. And so he's a friend of the CSPOA, so that surprises me. I'll meet you tomorrow at 6, you'll be there at 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay, let's both go,
We'll connect.
because you might remember me from the sheriff's convention.
You should know my sister.
Yeah.
Okay, Sheriff Mack is a sheriff from Arizona, and what do you call it?
Retired.
Yeah, retired. Oath keepers and CO, how do you say it?
Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officer Association.
They made this acronym thing that it's my
CSPOA.
sisters, and I'm always like, how did you do that? Anyways, it's a branch, you know, because they're all friends. And the deal of it is with his group is the sheriff is the last line of defense. They cannot obey, you know, federal orders, you know, in the state. They're the highest form of authority in Massachusetts.
Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the county in which they're elected.
Yes.
Okay, it's very powerful, very important, and we need to remember that when we're electing these people, and that's the problem. Like when I was talking to Bill and I talked to Sandra, you know, we as citizens are not doing our job. We don't know how systems work. City council, I've never been to city council once, I walked through it, but that's it. And we need to know what's going on, because these people are voting and using our money, and we don't even know what's going on, or how to change it, or what to do about it. So we need to do that and be, you know, informed about what's going on and how important a sheriff is, big time. So we need to work on that. Are you gonna be running?
2016 is the next election, so we have some time. I want to get a new DA, new county judge first this year, but it's possible.
Good, I hope so. I love your signs, every sign. Yes, sir.
Night was the hour last week on 6.
The sixth.
Second,
Okay.
the second hour.
Perfect.
What we can do to support you to send donation. I registered here on my credit card, $10 a month. I can only go more. But anybody that can afford to send anything, even $5, whatever amount, will be very appreciated. And we support him because he started a good organization now.
You did.
Who is it support?
Oh,
good.
Yeah, you can give on credit card or you can send me cash, whatever. You know,
I really believe that organization has one of the most important roles to play nationwide, because the police chief in Detroit, if you saw the news last week, he's a black police chief who grew up in that area, went off to LA, was a cop in LA for 28 years. Then he was a top cop in Portland, Maine, and I think Cincinnati. Now he's back as a police chief in Detroit. And he was convinced by his experience in Maine when they issued the concealed handgun licenses. He saw a correlation there. Lowest crime, people were armed. And it changed his way of thinking. So now he's gone back to Detroit, and he's like, kind of like Sheriff Clark from Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, who had that public service announcement last year, said, you call 911, it's going to take, we can't always be there.
Right.
If you have a gun, you need to get training and be able to defend yourself. And he got all this pushback from the liberal mayor. That was over in Milwaukee. Well, now the police chief in Detroit has gone off the reservation, so to speak. And it's great that it's a black police chief, and he's on TV just this past week saying that he supports people's rights to keep their arms, Second Amendment. So we need to support people like that they're willing to speak up, because they get a lot of pushback from the liberal city council members.
I know, and the thing of it is statistics prove it out.
Yeah.
Where guns are,
Just
the crime
overwhelming.
it's overwhelming. Yes, sir.
It is a threat on every
Question.
Okay,
There
sure,
is?
but
Yes,
As a law enforcement person, 20 years, what's your opinion? Do you open carry different than concealed weapons?
yes. Now, as a constitutionalist, I don't believe in the permitting process. I believe we have that right. Now, in Arizona, when I go to visit my family in Arizona, and I always stop in to see Sheriff Joe. I saw him again.
Oh, that's good.
Sheriff Arpaio is a friend of mine and endorsed me. And, you know, in Arizona, you can openly carry, and you'll see people in the supermarket, you don't need a permit for that. They still have concealed handgun licenses you want to conceal. So Arizona seems to be leading the way. In fact, Sheriff Mack had moved to Texas thinking he was going to get this groundswell of support from other Texas sheriffs and whatnot. And he was really disappointed because we're not leading the way in Texas, and we should be. So now he's moved back to Arizona, and you know, in a lot of ways, they seem to be more in tune with that issue out there in Arizona than they do here. So on a constitutional basis, I mean, they already know where to find me, so I'm not so worried about the registry issue, but now that you see these Department of Homeland Security vehicles that say police on them, how many of you have seen those Tahoes? Well, in the last year, they put a big decal that says police. Well, under the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, they're not peace officers. That's actually a crime. That's called impersonating a public servant. And I'm talking with some legislators about this, and that needs to be stopped. But, you know, it's not so far-fetched to see there's an agenda to have a nationwide federal police force. We're seeing that evidence now. And, you know, they're trying to get rid of the office of the sheriff in numerous, like in Delaware. Connecticut got rid of the sheriff in 2000, and that was under a Republican governor who later went to federal prison for fraud.
Homeland Security will approach you. Can you disobey their orders?
It has to, if it's an unlawful order, when laws are passed that are not constitutional, they're edicts. They're not. It's not a law.
Right.
And so a sheriff has the role of interposing to protect the citizenry for whom, in that county, for whom he or she is elected. So if anybody, including the President of the United States, came into your county and wanted to search your home without a warrant, for example, violate your constitutional right, the sheriff has taken an oath to stop that. They are the chief law enforcement officer. A lot of people have that backwards. They think the supremacy clause just said, well, if it's federal, it's supreme. No, not at all. The constitutional sheriff
by law.
will stand up and say, take them aside, say, what are you up to? You're breaking the law, you're violating my citizens' constitutional rights. You need to knock it off because you're the one that's going to be in trouble. You need to knock it off, leave, and that's what a constitutional sheriff does. In the western states, they're butting heads with the Bureau of Land Management on those types of issues. But it hasn't really hit Texas yet. But that's the safeguard we've had in place for decades. And now they're trying to desensitize the public to seeing these DHS police rolling around town.
DHS.
Do you think maybe in a week or two you come in and talk to us on this topic?
After I come back from the conference.
Okay, awesome. We'll book him. We'll book him and he'll come talk about the
We'll book
Second
him.
Amendment and things like that.
I've
Okay?
done talking
I'd love to.
I know there's been some more questions that want to be addressed to you, but we need to move on
It's a
just a
topic in
little.
itself.
Yeah, it's a topic in itself, without a doubt. And so on the 18th, which is Saturday, the Barbeck Restaurant, which is right on Garland Road, they have a group that meets there. It's called College of Complexes. And yeah, I know, it's an interesting group of people. They believe that, Albert, can you explain what they say? How they explain their
It was
group?
started up in Chicago, and retired railroad fellow, union fellow, when they moved down here, he started a branch down here. And they have only a couple of rules. They will have a speaker for an hour, and then a half an hour of questions to the speaker, and he will answer them, and then a half hour of up to 5-minute rebuttals. And the two basic rules are the subject must be controversial and only one fool can speak at a time.
Yeah, thank you. I love it, it's really good.
However, the group is extremely liberal. And when I first went there at the invitation of another person, I thought, what in the hell am I doing with this? But then I thought it would be good for me to stay there and try to get to know these people, to understand how they think. And I think I have done that, and I understand that, and I have a lot more compassion for them, but I think that they are the perfect example of the sheeple in this country. They do not realize where we're being taken and how they are the conveyor belt for getting there.
So thank you, Albert. And the thing of it is here we cross all lines. We are not Republican or Democrat or anything like that. We're not necessarily liberal or not. I mean, we have all kinds of groups, and that's what I want to do. I believe the agenda is to separate people, you know? And I want to break that down big time. We're all a family. And then once we do come here, I want you all to get to know each other. What do you do? And how we can help each other. And that's what will keep us strong. Okay, I know, John, you may have a question, but hold just a minute. There's also an event on Saturday that was brought to my attention, and that is going to Saturday the 18th, yes. Dallas March for Life and Rally. They're gonna start at 10:30, and they're gonna be at 8616 Greenville Avenue. Then Youth Rally at 12:30, it's an all-day event. 12:30 to 4:30, pro-life minister fair. I guess it's all going to be over at that area.
A big thing on the convention center.
And then it goes to 1 until 3. That's going to be at the convention center and the KBH Center.
Roe versus Wade.
This is the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. So there you go. I don't know where you stand on the life issue, but you know.
Not controversial at all.
But anyway, so that's on Saturday, and then the 20th, next Monday, is our next meeting, which we're going to be moving forward on the fluoride issue, and we're going to get fluoride out of the water in Dallas. We are going to get fluoride out of the water in Dallas, and we'll be talking about that. And also Richard will, as tonight, he is going to talk about his Jericho event at the City Council, which is going to be on the 22nd. So we'll let him have a few minutes too. So I'm thinking, I don't know, Richard, do you want to give your 5 minutes right now and then introduce Bill? And then Bill can do his, take as long as you need. And then Sandra is coming. So, one more thing, everybody. New people are here. Please welcome them. Yeah, blood pressure, get right in here. Yes, and we'll keep moving on. All right, let me get out of the way. Okay. This is Richard Sheridan.
I'm not going to really blow it.
Richard Sheridan has been here before. He's talked to a few times. And he is a proponent for at least 10 years. He's been exposing the homeless issue in Dallas. All right.
Okay, Regina, we need Rich to stand where your chair is right there.
Okay, you need to stand or don't move too much. Last time they said you moved too much.
Well, thank you very much. Came to me a couple over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Came to me 3 weeks ago with my friend Paul Turner, who's been a 2-year homeless working man, that we need to have an event. And the event is being called the Dallas Jericho Homeless Event. I just recently added on to it the Jedi Dallas Homeless Event, because it doesn't have structure right now, although it's coming together in terms of speakers in the morning. We have a minister that's volunteered to be the lead speaker, and then a man that has an organization to help homeless addicts become unaddicted. And a couple of maybe Sandy Crenshaw might be there. I'll be here in the morning unless I need to be flexible and go to the afternoon. But what's the purpose of this day? The purpose of this day is to call attention to the fact that we are not serving the homeless in the city of Dallas. Are there some miscreants or some criminal elements there? Yes. Is it 85%? I don't think so. Is it 15%? Possibly. But I believe the good book, or the Bible, and you have the Koran, and you have the Torah, and you have different books, but I think we would all agree that we're responsible to take care of the poor and homeless, the poor Lord to be there
but more than ever, the population of our poor and homeless have increased significantly because of the economy, because of many factors. You want to look at the factors here. You're looking at thoughtlessness, greed, prejudice, racism, mental or physical disability, drug or alcohol addiction, domestic violence, excess spending, the economy, again, corporate greed, individual greed, Katrina-like event, government incompetence, secrets, corruption, IRS, apathy, and this is a picture of a woman taken in 2005. This is supposed to be used for a rally at Dallas City Hall. We got the funding for the bridge, which turned out to be a total billboard, a place to make money and to keep people that need help in a greasy pit. She was sleeping in a carport next to a mini mart in her 50s, sleeping in a parking space with a blanket over her. And we have many people today in this situation. This picture that I presented the last time, which I think is a metaphor or a simple view of where we are today in our nation. There's us, there's humanity, varying degrees of good and evil. I have a lot more darkness in my life than I do today. I still have some issues. And there's two paths, whether it's the red path, the Indian path, the good path, the child shall lead us, all that is good in nature, in life, on earth. And then you have the crooked path, which leads to destruction. I think I indicated that we were there in 1962 with Kennedy and Cuba. And they were there recently with Syria. We were going to go bomb Syria. Oh, they are bad people. And now we're here with Iran. But again, what's being said here? It's the crooked path. It's the cheating path. It's the evil path. And I took out from the dollar bill the Illuminati symbol. And I put in here, and I'll put this, I'll scan it in, a homeless person either lying in the street or dead at the hands of a person who couldn't care less because they're all bad people. Well, they are not all bad people. They need help. Some of them need a good guy and bad guy. Some of them need get in their face. But at least they deserve a mat on the floor and sanitary conditions, and maybe a military approach, a good guy, bad guy approach.
Mention how many are former military.
Okay, and any one night in the nation, there's 200,000 military in the streets of our nation, and these are men and women that served our nation, that bought into the lies. How many are lies? How many are real in terms of where we should have gone over Afghanistan, Iraq? This is a highly charged political conversation here, obviously. Only ignorant people, only evil people choose war first. Curtis LeMay pushed, and the chief of staff pushed Kennedy to go to war. He said, no, we're not going to war, but we know what happened to him. So in Dallas, we have 25% of about 10,000 people that are in the streets of our city and county. And they're lying about it because they say that the numbers are going down. We are one of the worst positions economically in our nation's history, and they say the numbers are going down. They're lying about the numbers. Just a couple more visuals. By the way, I went downtown in Dallas. I don't care if I look like a fool. Everyone's going to give us attention and they take the flyer and say, what's this Jericho? I'm still learning about the Bible, what's in there. Good stories to talk to people today about what is going on. And Jericho, again, was that place after being in captivity in Egypt and wandering 40 years as God's punishment. You got to go through Jericho. It's an evil place. And here's what you got to do. Blow your horns, sing your songs, talk whatever. And they came down. So the economy, wicked area, loses liabilities, the homeless, we all could be homeless tomorrow. Any one of us. This one is close to my heart. Where is it here? Oh, yeah. There it is. There it is. There it is. Boo! Boo! Fear. I'm a 30-year non-filer. I'm proud to say it. I don't got $2 to rub together. I just had a $190,000 lien placed on me, and my mailbox is full of people that are going to help me. They're going to help me. Just comply. Oh, we can get you 10 cents on a dollar. I will go to prison before I do that. Because I answer to, I think most of us do, the man upstairs. And if we don't answer to the man upstairs, will be punished worse than those we're confronting. There's no question about that. Sherry Peel Jackson, God bless her. Dixon Cannon, how his business going here? God bless him. They poisoned him. They poisoned him. Oh, well, yeah, there you go. The powers and principalities. IRS, I represent Satan. The Fed, the federal legal doers. All right? And this is leading into Mr. Yes. Bill Benson. Won't you come home, Bill Benson? Won't you come home? I ran across Bill Benson about 4 or 5 years ago. He was involved with an election where they were saying yes was no and no was yes. And he did some mischief there. He could have got arrested if somebody turned him in, but he didn't. And he's an educator, DSD, and he's been an activist while he's an educator. Now he's retired full-time and he's stirring it up. He's on Mike Miles, who's the plant of the city of Dallas Citizens Council that runs this city. That's how I look at it. Very close associated with the mayor, politically charged. He's got the numbers. He'll tell you about it. How did this guy come here in the first place? He has no right coming. Bill Benson.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I love the introduction. That was great. I've been in Dallas since '67, so I always say I'm a newcomer, right? But I grew up in the Texas Panhandle, and you talk about fluoride. I grew up in I think it's one of the few cities in the country, but it's called the town without a toothache, Hereford, Texas. If you know Hereford, there was an article written in the Reader's Digest in 1949 that basically talked about our low cavity rate in Hereford because the Ogallala Aquifer underneath Hereford has natural fluoride in the water. And so apparently that started everything that you're hearing about today. Now, I'm not going to go into the science of it or anything like that. I don't know it. But I do know if you live there all your life, you do have pretty strong teeth. And they also get stained after about 20, 30, 40 years. So that's part of growing up in Hereford. But no, I've gotten involved in a lot of things, and I don't know which topics y'all may be most interested in. I got very involved here in Dallas regarding redistricting and city council redistricting. And if you remember when our city council did the redistricting back about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, the Dallas Morning News actually endorsed my map in 5 different editorials. And Mike Miles actually adopted the map I had put together, and Mike Rollins, Mike Rollins, get my mics mixed up. Mike Rollins put his name on it and actually used it. The reason it did not get to first base is because the map really did go for compact, non-gerrymandered districts. My philosophy is the more compact a district is, the more people you're going to have show up to vote. In other words, the minute you go out with all these strange arms and whatever else you have, you're making a campaign more expensive. It's very expensive to file a campaign in one of these strange districts with little arms sticking out in all directions. And if it's compact, then you can hit 3 or 4 churches or walk the streets and much more easily be a candidate. And that's what we need to work towards. The good news is we did make progress. The new city council map is more compact, but we still have, I think my map had an average circumference around the district of about 32 miles. The old map, the original map, was close to 40 for the city of Dallas because of all the strange lines and all. And the city of Dallas map we now have is between 35 and 36 miles average circumference around each district. So we've got a long ways to go, but we do need to get more compact. And if any of y'all remember, were any of you involved in that process back in 2011? It was online. You could actually sign up online and redraw the districts yourself. They now have the software to do that, and it was really happening all over the country. Dallas was one of the leaders, and the software was excellent. I'm a computer teacher. I jumped into it right away and just loved it and worked on it. It gives you instant demographic profiles of the district you have designed. So you can really work towards a representative district and a compact district. We're going to have this same software available again in 2020 and 2021. I strongly recommend every one of you get involved. The more of us who are down there designing districts, the more of us there will be to get angry at the outrageous gerrymandering that's already happened in our country. I mean, it'll really make you angry when you realize the gridlock our nation is suffering right now is totally caused by gerrymandering. Because they know they're going to get reelected. You know, they're in districts that are, 80, 70% one party or the other. So all they got to do is have the party name and they're reelected. That is not accountability. We need to have representative districts where they actually have to work to get your vote. And then we're going to get things that are going to be happening. And they're going to be more responsive to the public. And that's what we need. That's really what we need. So that's one thing. If you just simply Google Dallas and redistricting, you'll get to my blog, where I blogged on it for about 3 years during that process. And the most recent blogs include 3 maps, or 3 studies, one done of the city council, one done of the state house, one done of the, no, they're all congressional, excuse me. One is of the House of Representatives for the U.S. House of Representatives in Texas. The other is for the state senatorial maps. And the third is for the state House of Representatives. And it talks about how each one of those 3 maps is outrageously gerrymandered. And hopefully that'll help explain that in a rather simple way. I try to make it as simple as possible. The other thing I'm very involved in, I'm a retired teacher from DISD. I taught computer applications for 11 years. In the process, I got very involved in dropouts. When I first got there, I presumed 30% of my kids were graduating college. I just presumed it because they were pretty smart kids. And then it didn't take me long and I realized that was the percentage getting out of high school. I taught at Kentonea Middle School in North Oak Cliff, and you all know Oak Cliff. It's a school, brand new school, but it's got like a 95% poverty rate. And it's virtually 98% Hispanic. And so second language issues, a multitude of issues, but you still have very capable kids that are doing quite well. But you very quickly realize they have no vision of the future. They have no vision of where they're going. That's the most common characteristic of poverty. Kids from poverty don't have goals. They don't know where they're going. So what we did, now it'll be in the handout I give you, we started a very simple project in 2005. We put a 500, I went to Lowe's, they immediately funded it. They loved what we were going to do. They gave me all the money, they gave me the vault, they gave me the spotlights we wanted, everything they gave to me. We got a 500-pound vault. We actually went overboard, but we basically bolted it to the floor in the lobby. We put spotlights on it. We tore the guts from the inside. It was a gun vault. We tore the guts from the inside of it and put tin shelves in it. And we turned it into a time capsule. And we told the kids basically, when you're 8th graders, when you're leaving our school, we want you to plan for your future. This is a writing project. You do it in language arts class. You basically go to class and you write a letter to yourself about what you want to be doing in 10 years. Now that's the way we started it with the first class in 2005. About 400 kids wrote letters to themselves. And the vault wasn't yet installed when they wrote them, so we actually put them in during the summer when the vault was installed. But that has now evolved to where when the kids come into the middle school in the 6th grade, the very first thing we do is have parents write a letter to their children and tell their children what their dreams are for them. And then we ask them to add one thing. Tell a story from your history that you want your child to remember as an adult. Because if you look at research regarding kids, the most resilient people, the most resilient children are ones who know their history, who know their stories. Too many of our kids don't know their stories. Nobody's told them, nobody's taken the time to sit down. So anyhow, we're moving that direction. So parents write that letter, kids bring it to school, they use it in language arts class to write a letter to themselves. The first letter in the 6th grade, we put it in the vault. And then it stays there for 3 years. 7th grade, 8th grade, the kids pass it every day. They know their mama's letter is in that vault, and they know what she said. And they pass it every day, several times. So it's just a symbolic presence, a kind of little spiritual thing, you know? But it works. And so we do that. In the 8th grade, we take that letter out and give it back to them right at the end of 8th grade. And the parents do a new letter, because it's been 3 years. Your kids change in 3 years, especially in middle school. And so they rewrite the letter, the kids rewrite the letter, the parents rewrite the letter, and both letters, once again, go into the same self-addressed envelope. We actually tell them to put 3 addresses on the envelope. The front is their home address, where we can mail the letter in 10 years if they're still living there. On the back side, they put 2 more relatives, 2 more people who will know where they are in 10 years. And so basically, and then we have a little ceremony. The kids come down, they stand in front of the vault, they hold the letter in front of themselves with their entire language arts class. We take their picture, they line up, and one by one, they put the letter right on the shelf where it stays for 10 years. Another thing happening in this process is you're breaking into kids the idea of time passing. You know, 13-year-olds are immortal. They're going to be there forever. They don't have the idea of time passing. And so we want to start that, you know, that's what we're trying to build towards. We give them 2 photos of that. They get 2 copies of that photo. One for them and one for their parents. On the back of it is a little sticker that tells them when their 10-year reunion is, where they can call to volunteer to help plan it. And it reminds them that when they come back for that reunion, yes, we're going to give them back, we're going to have a party, we're going to give them the letter back, and then we are also going to ask them to talk to the current kids in the school. And we want them to tell the kids their recommendations for success. But we warn them, those kids are going to ask you questions, and they're going to ask you questions like this. Would you do anything differently if you were 13 again? I mean, you know, how would we all of us would, all of us would. But we want the kids to prepare for that, anyhow. We started that in 2005. We've been doing it every year. And the vault is almost full. We're down to 13. The 14 shelf will be filled this May. And next November, we're going to have the first reunion. We're going to have that 2005 class coming back. It'll be in the news. You'll see it. So many news people are bugging me wanting to know when we're going to do it. So, but basically, we hopefully of that 400, I hope we can find at least 100. Because back then, I didn't do the extra 2 addresses. We weren't thinking ahead far enough. We only did the main front address, so we're going to have a hard time tracking kids down, you know what I mean? But they'll come back and we'll have them talking to kids about what they would do differently. And I know we've had kids from that class that have been through jail and prison already, and the normal things that kids go through. And those are the ones, whenever I meet them in the shopping center or something, I tell them, you come back, you've got a story to tell. It's probably the most valuable lesson that the kids need to learn. And so, no matter what you went through, it's a lesson for all the kids to learn. And so that's what we're building towards. And so the good news is our kids go to Sunset High School. Sunset High School in 2006 only had a 33% graduation rate in 2006. Immediately it started going up just because of the talk we were doing. By the time our class of 2005 graduated, they had a 49% graduation rate. It was the highest. They set records. But every year we were setting records. This year, they had in 2009, by the way, by that time the principal, who was the same principal the whole time, Tony Tovar, you may have heard about him. He's the one that got pushed out by Mike Miles. You know him? He's wonderful. That man, together with this and everything worked. And he wanted a vault at Sunset. So we started the project at Sunset at the high school level. 9th graders write letters just the same way. Parents write letters. 12th graders write letters. And so they've got their vault in an old, great big old phone booth there. If any of y'all went to Sunset, it's the old phone booth in the basement where I've been told they had several phone booths in it, but now the vault's right in the middle of the phone booth. And that's where we are. But anyhow, so things are going, last year's graduating class, the graduating class of 2013 was 70% graduation rate, which that's unheard of in an inner city school. Now, when I say 70%, by the way, I'm not talking about the funny TEA numbers they hand around. Like they're claiming an 84% graduation rate for DISD now, which is absolutely nuts. I'm looking at the total ninth grade enrollment, and I'm comparing it to the total number of diplomas given out 4 years later. I'm looking about raw numbers. I'm not cleaning anything up by coding kids out because they moved to Mexico. I'm talking about the total class and total graduation. Last year, and this is the one thing I'm most proud of, a year ago, Sunset had a freshman class, and they had a senior class that was 90% of the size of the freshman class. I mean, it's phenomenal what's happened there at Sunset. It really is, but it's going backwards this year, and that's the Mike Miles problem. Would you want to give these to everybody? Sure. I may be one or two short, so you might have to share. I've got 14. Actually, I've got an extra one here. I can use this one. What this is an email I sent 2 months ago to the DISD Board of Directors. And I'm not, we could talk about this for a long time, but the email basically documents what's happening right now since Miles came to Dallas. And it is frightening what's happening since Miles came to Dallas. Two things occurred. Last year, the entire DISD graduating class of 2013 was the largest graduation class in 31 years. So that's fantastic. All of DISD is improving. It really is. And if you go to the very first page behind the email, I will show you very quickly how the improvements have happened in DISD. If you'll look at line number 14, you'll see the 9th grade enrollment. And if you'll look right above it, look at the 8th grade enrollment. We only had 1,100 and 11,000 great kids, and then the very next year, poof, it's almost 14,500. That problem had plagued our district for 20 years. We always had a 9th grade bubble. That's where kids went to drop out of high school. They were not prepared for high school in middle school. They went into 9th grade, they took it 2 or 3 times, and they never made it to 10th grade. Look at the 10th grade numbers, 9,000, went from 14,000 to 9,000. We were always losing our kids then. And most of our dropouts never made it to 10th grade in DISD. That's a very common problem going back for a long time in DISD. Things started to change in 2006. Now, I'm not going to say Hinojosa's responsible, but it happened on his watch. There were people in DISD who are real sharp and who know this stuff, and they started in 2005 and 6. They started with 9th grade coordinators. They started focusing on 8th graders, and they started really preparing kids for that transition between 8th grade and 9th grade, and they have perfected it.
Awesome.
And that's what made the difference. Notice how 9th grade started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And go look right next down at the line 15, sophomores. Notice how it started getting larger. More of our kids were making it through that 9th grade mess and making it to 10th grade. So DISD is heading in the right direction. We just need to do a lot more of it. We're not home yet by any means. We've just barely started. So the graduation rates. Now, you can measure I've got a multitude of different graduation rate measurements on this page. Okay, so I can drive you nuts with statistics. I've circled the one that I like the most. It's in line number 29. It's the cumulative promotion index. It's the number of total 9th grade enrollment that makes it to be reflected in total 12th grade enrollment. I like that number because it's the hardest number for bureaucrats to mess with and manipulate. In other words, I have found more lies in Texas statistics about education than just about anything else. They lie so consistently. And so you need a simple, auditable number that people like us from the public can go out and kind of verify or not. And that's what we need. And that's what the CPI is. And the federal people use it, and many universities across the nation use it. And so the CPI is a popular number with everybody except Mike Miles. Mike Miles doesn't like the CPI. Look what happened when he got here. It had constantly improved from 40.7, now it had dropped real big just before that, but then it started improving, got up to 66.1, Miles got here, and it immediately went down. Let me tell you some of Miles' history. He did the same thing in Colorado. He had a CPI that was up around 70%. I mean, he had a pretty high CPI. Then he got his job as superintendent there, and he started knocking out kids for some reason or another. The last 4 years he was there, his 12th grade enrollment dropped 32%. Now, they weren't dropouts because the kids were transferring to District 1, or District 11, excuse me, just to the north of there. I lived a year in Colorado Springs, so I know a little bit of geography. But basically, most of them transferred to District 11. Well, I strongly suspect what Mike Miles was doing was getting rid of low-scoring kids for several reasons. First off, there's local people in Colorado Springs who are accusing him of that, and who were the ones trying to get rid of him back before we hired him. And second, the district where most of those kids were going to, District 11, my wife used to teach there, they had their ACT scores go down. Well, Mike Miles was going up, but he was sending them kids. Do you see anything that matches there? Mike Miles' scores were going up and District 11 went down. I really hope, if any of y'all know Texas history, the superintendent of the public school system in El Paso, Texas, he was getting accolades about 3 years ago in Texas for having a wonderfully raising graduation rate. He was doing all kinds of good things, got big awards, was getting bonuses and all this. Well, he's now in prison for 41 months because they found out that he was disappearing kids, getting rid of the low-scoring kids, and basically that's breaking federal law. So we're paying his room and board right now for 41 months. And my fantasy is a headline someday in Dallas that Mike Miles is going downtown to be arrested. Because I really think the same thing happened in Colorado Springs. Because all the smoke looks that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It just all looks that way. So,
Are there people looking into it?
the federal, a report has been made to the Department of Education in Denver. About 2 weeks after that, they contacted us and said, yes, that report has been accepted by their dropout division. They said, do not expect to hear back from us for months, but we are accepting it to look into it. So, and that was months ago, so anything could happen.
Do you realize how dangerous a person you are? You're actually helping a generation to learn to think.
We've got to do that. Oh, thank you.
Zbigniew Brzezinski, it may still be on YouTube, was addressing the Council on Foreign Relations and stated, one of the biggest problems we're facing today is worldwide awakening.
Oh, yeah. Our kids have got to realize the power they have.
Yes.
And the vote, because if we get rid of gerrymandering and all this, and people begin to realize what you can do voting, I mean, wow. I mean, you're right. It's exciting to watch what could happen. And plus, if our kids begin to think, and really plan ahead,
Yes.
and really begin to see, and come back 10 years later and kind of go over what they did. I mean, the kids, and now at Quintanilla Middle School in Oak Cliff, already Quintanilla Middle School, I'm so proud of this, our pregnancy rate has gone down dramatically. In other words, once kids start planning for the future, the first year we did the letters in 2005, in one of the classrooms, a girl just started crying and ran out of the classroom. She was pregnant. And when you're thinking about your future, and if you know you're pregnant, those thoughts weigh heavy. You know what happened. And so the more we can talk about that, it's the best birth control in the world. And our pregnancy, we used to have like 5 or 6 pregnancies a year in that middle school. It's 1,200 kids. Last year we had 1, and the year before we had 2. So it's working. It's working. And plus it makes gangs less attractive.
Yeah.
Because kids go to gangs because there's no sense of belonging. But if you talk like this stuff, there's a sense of belonging that happens.
Well, I think statistically, worldwide, the higher the education level, the lower the birth rate.
It is. It is, and that's happening in our country right now. Anglo birth rate is below replacement. Hispanic birth rate is still above replacement. But it's come down rapidly. because we are raising education levels. It's just slow and tedious, but it is happening.
That's great.
Bill, is poverty the #1 challenge to education?
It is, because poverty correlates with parents unable to pass on a history. Because when parents are working 2 jobs, they just don't have time with their kids, and the history doesn't get
Plus
passed
the
on.
dysfunction
Yes.
of the family, child.
I didn't tell you something about my background. For 28 years, I was a child placement worker, and for 17 of those years, I was a child abuse investigator here in Dallas. And so I was constantly getting case histories and histories. And when you place children, you begin to realize very quickly that the most important thing you've got to send with them is their total history. I mean, that's why I strongly believe in open adoption. You can't keep secrets from people, especially their genetic secrets. You can't deny them their birth history, you know, and it's all part of that power thing. Once you deny that, you've denied something so basic to being human. You know, we've got to have open records for adoptees, for adult adoptees, and whenever you place a child, they need to go with their history, because it should be, even if it's painful. As a child abuse investigator, I saw some terrible things done to kids. And one day, and the DAs thought I was nuts, but I was talking to a guy who had molested his daughters, and I was testifying to terminate his parental rights. But during the break in the trial, I was talking to the guy, and I was telling him, you know, when your kids get to be adults, I mean, he was only going to prison, I think, for 10 years. He was going to be out eventually. I said, you know, they're probably going to hunt you down. And I said, you've got to make sure they find somebody that they can be proud of. And I said, what you did was dastardly. I mean, you know, but the reality is that between you and the kids, you're still their dad. And I mean, they may never want to see you again, and that may happen. I can't say that. But I've done this business long enough. I've known a lot of kids that do want to go eventually, when they're themselves 24, 25, 35, they do want to go see where that person is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you know, you can't deny that from people. You can't deny it no matter how bad it is. So that's, and the same message applies in school, because too many of our kids of poverty don't know their history.
Do you have a website or, I know you have
yeah.
a blog, but tell us more about how to
Okay.
find you. and all that stuff.
There's two. The redistricting one is, of course, Dallas and redistricting, and you'll go to the blog. And once you get on the blog, you can go to all my blogs. StudentMotivation.org is my website for this archive project. The one that's the time capsule project. That's
David, did you get that?
StudentMotivation.org.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
get it either.
He's taking notes over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's on the back. It's the very last page I added to the handout. And I put the URL on there. And I also put something on the very front of what I handed you on the bottom. I mentioned Diane Ravitch. And this book, if you're concerned about education in Dallas and the damage that is being done right now by the day in Dallas, this is the book you want to read. It is brilliant. It's been out about 2 months. And Diane Ravitch, who used to be involved in the Department of Education, but now she has totally changed. She wrote this, and she's written several books. She's brilliant. I've heard her talk many times. She's going to be speaking in Austin, March 1st and 2nd, at the first National Annual Conference for the National Network for Public Education. And so that'll be happening, and that's brand new, and I put that on there. Yes?
I think there are some occasional exceptions to wanting a continuity between your parents.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't testify to terminate parental rights for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to terminate parental rights at times. But when those kids are adults, they still make their own decisions.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I had one case when I was practicing law of an Hispanic lady, and the final decree severed his parental rights, gave them sealed name changes and a permanent injunction against him to ever even try to find them again.
And that process you described is normal. We always do that.
Okay.
But the kids they'll still know his name. See, this is totally something the kids do. It's nothing he can do. He can't go track them down. But we can't deny them tracking
No,
them
that's
down.
true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
We can't do that.
Bill, would you go over the past special election, trustee election with the aspect of the vote fraud, vote harvesting, the small numbers and how they win elections?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a total expert in that, but there are so many ways to manipulate elections, especially early voting and voting by mail. And that's been perfected by some groups in Dallas. And so that is.
Madrano, I don't mind
Yeah.
mentioning, Madrano family uses vote harvesting and go into old people's homes. Madrano, Medrano, Madrano. 7 Madranos were indicted 3 years ago for vote fraud, going to people's homes and saying, hey, this is one you want to vote for, sending in the mail-in ballots, harvesting.
Yeah. Pancho grew up here, had a good reputation, but his kids aren't carrying it forward with that. So that's the problem.
I'm sure he's not the only one. Oh, sure, I'll be next question.
I think we also need to get rid of electronic vote counting machines.
Yes, we've got to have a
Because
paper
they're
trail.
totally fraudulent.
We've got to have a paper trail. We've got to have a paper
Bill,
trail.
do you have any idea about how we can actually do that? 'Cause
Yes,
what is the format?
there's several ways you can have a paper trail. First, every single time you cast an electronic vote, you also have a paper printout that you simply have to sign to verify it matches what you did electronically. It wouldn't take but 2 seconds while you're voting. You could autograph, you look it over and say, yeah, that's right. And that wouldn't actually be the ballot, but it would reflect what you did electronically, but it could go into a lockbox and it could be counted when there is a challenge. And it's really rather simple to do that.
They don't want to do it. Would you
Very
agree with that? It's
Aren't
not
there
that they
some
don't
states
allow-
where they have a requirement for a voter verifiable paper audit
Yes,
trail?
yes.
You don't-
Texas doesn't
yeah,
do
we
that
don't-
yet.
Well,
We've
how
got
do-
to do it.
How do we get that done? See,
We
we're
can do it with
at-
our legislature here. We can
Okay.
get a bill passed
So
to
we
make
could
that
start
required,
at the
yes.
city council and get it.
Well, no,
What?
if you want to do it with the Texas legislature, you have to do it with your representative and Corona, senators and
Okay.
senators, you need to start at that level. And a group this size, y'all could get working on that, I bet it'd make a big dent.
Okay. Would
Because
you
there's a
help-
lot of
would you
people
help
who would
give us
like
a
to
little
do that.
outline of, a little bit more details of
What the objections might be. Some people say, well, it's gonna add cost and.
Oh, it is gonna add cost, but it's gonna add an infinitesimal
It's-
small cost.
Oh, I agree, but we're gonna hear that, and how do we deal with
Yeah.
those objections?
Yeah, right. How do you
Well,
deal?
if you tell them that a challenge can be exceptionally expensive if you're only gonna go on electronic evidence, whereas when you've got paper, I think that would bring down the cost. Now, you need to speak to people that are better experts in that area than I, but I think that brings down the cost when you do have a paper trail.
I'm wondering if there have been any successful challenges to electronic-only results, and if so,
I don't know, that's a
who are
good
the
question.
forensic experts?
I don't know.
There have been books written on it.
Why should
Oh,
we?
yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be pure. We need a paper trail.
Absolutely.
We've got to have a paper trail with autographs of the person who voted.
Yeah. You know, a lot of the people here were home, you know, we advocate homeschooling and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
But, you know, when my son went to school, Eagle Forum was one of the ones, and basically, 86% of the people go to public school, don't they? I mean,
It's a
what is-
large percentage,
It's a very
yes.
large percentage, probably it's, less now maybe than it was before. But the point I always say is, we've got to help with this, even if we're not involved, because they're gonna be the policemen, and they're gonna be the people out on the streets with us. And the better educated, the better balanced they are with their future, is only gonna help in
Oh,
every way, shape,
it
and
saves
form.
tax money right and left.
Right.
I mean,
So-
we used to joke when I was at CPS, Child Welfare, doing the child abuse investigations, that if we could put something in the water system so people wouldn't get pregnant, they could go through puberty, but they wouldn't get pregnant until they were 21 or 25, that we'd be out of business. I mean, that's how dangerous teenage pregnancy is. But if we can have this effect we had with the time capsule project in lowering the pregnancy rate when you start having kids plan for their future, I think that would save us.
Hey, Bill Gates will do it for you.
That's just a,
He'll
Well,
sterilize,
it's so simple.
he'll
It doesn't
sterilize
cost
everybody.
taxpayers. We're in 11 schools right now. We've got 11 vaults in 11 schools. We need more volunteers if any of y'all want to help in doing this.
who thought up this program?
I pulled together ideas from all kinds of people. A bunch of teachers at Quintanilla did it.
I would say that you're a brilliant man.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome, awesome.
Kids love it, and that's the excitement I get, because the kids really get turned on to this. And I mean, it's the reason teachers teach. You do it for that light bulb, you know what I mean?
Right. Awesome. I'm so glad you're here. You know,
thank you.
if you have anything more to talk about, or of course there'll be people asking you questions, one thing I
Wait,
just,
any questions, yeah?
yeah, any more questions, because I want to.
Lately, last 2 weeks, I've heard about the Tutt family. This case that was in Duncanville, there was a family that had adopted kids. I think they were from inner city in Fort Worth. Happened to be Caucasian parents, but I think kids, some of them were black, some of their own birth children, but they had been through, well, they had been foster parents for some time, and then there was a associate judge in Dallas County named Olvera. There was an incident where one of the children who had autism had wandered away from the house, not very far, and one of the other kids went after them, and the neighbor saw the kids, called the police, Duncanville police came out, and then it went off into the CPS thing. Well, the CPS already knew this family because they'd been foster parents, but the next thing they knew, there were 3 cars of deputy constables, I think from District 4, which is Roy Williams District, and took all the kids, didn't even get time to put their shoes on their feet, transported without child safety seats in violation of the law, and took the kids from them. And they had a hearing that was not, I don't know if the legal term for it, was unannounced here. Well, it didn't give, and the lawyer didn't have a chance to properly, it went on 12 hours. They had the mother on the stand for 3 hours, and there was no chance for the lawyer to do cross-examination. It was a total shame. And here's what I want to know. The Dallas Morning News, local media didn't cover it. The only reporter who even answered me about it was J.D. Miles, and he was going to go try to find out where the hearing, go to the hearing last week, the second hearing, under a different judge. Now, the associate judges, I learned, are not elected. Apparently, they're, the elected judges, which would all be Democrat in Dallas, would get together and decide who the associate judges are. And now they're going to have a second hearing with a different judge. It just all seems very arbitrary to me.
Well,
And I wonder why it hasn't even made it to the local media. Is there some sort of cover-up going on?
having done that for 17 years, those situations can get so outrageously complex. And I wouldn't even venture to guess what may have really happened.
How does the guardian ad litem
Well, no, that's-
appointed?
Well, they're appointed by the judge.
Okay.
The judge appoints the guardian, and they usually have a list of guardian ad litems who are
Are there
available
criteria?
that they
Because
just go through.
if this is someone who's just doing the judge's bidding, basically, you know, for example, with the Obamacare, we found out that the lady whose company made the website was Michelle Obama's roommate from college or something. I mean, is that,
Oh my God.
Is that a violation with?
Unfortunately, things like that
They do
happen.
happen, yeah.
How
That's
often,
my
I don't know.
suspicion.
Yeah, how often, I don't know. I mean,
And-
I worked way back when Hal Gaither was our judge.
Sure.
If any of y'all know Hal Gaither. And I mean, those were the good old days.
Well, it was because, it was stated in the reports because they were homeschooling the children. And that this guardian ad litem felt that the children were something about developmentally, whatever, but these parents have had coursework up at the University of North Texas. It seemed like now the case is all about the educational issues are not a basis that be formed on an abuse determination. So it seems like a witch hunt to go after homeschoolers in a multiracial family.
My own grandkids were homeschooled, and that's not.
Well, it's right in Dallas County.
You might enjoy this. When I was first starting out practicing law in the mid-'70s, this other lawyer and I, he was an older lawyer, went down to the courthouse. And we went through an adoption procedure for one of his clients, and the couple were there. They were sort of middle-aged. And I think he wore blue jeans to the court and so forth. But what they did, they had a farm sort of out in the mid-cities area, and they would take street children and adopt them. And they had at that point about 13 children. And they give them all jobs on the farm, and they give them a lot of love and a lot of discipline and make them go to school. And he paid my friend with a sack of radishes.
Radishes?
Good. See, that's great, that's great. Yeah, when I was a kid, I come from Hereford, that's the culture we were in there.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Well,
So-
I encourage everybody to, I hope everybody has the information. If anybody did not get it, let us know, because we can, everybody.
Right, and you can email me if you have
Yes.
other questions coming up.
Where's
It's on the
the
website.
email? I don't see your email.
Oh, it's at the, it's at the, it's
Oh,
on some of the,
Betson
yeah,
at
pbetson@AOL.com. It's on several of the pages. It's on the spreadsheet.
It's on top of the first
There
page.
you
It's
go.
on
Top
top,
of the
right,
first
it's on the very
page.
top,
Right.
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Top of the first page.
Right.
All right, so We are, so you can come
Yes.
see us
Well,
anytime
this
you
is
want to.
fascinating.
Isn't this
You're
good?
doing
This is
exactly
good.
what a
This is-
democracy should do.
One little other comment, and this is coming from the heart. Of all the kinds of interests that people have and the presentations they've made and so forth, yours is the most encouraging for the future.
That's true.
Of all of
This is
it.
encouraging. I know. Lisa
Most
was.
positive.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
All about our resource, the children, right?
Oh,
That's our
yeah,
biggest
that's our
national
future,
resource.
that's our only future.
And they're depressed as it is, so this is excellent. Well, you're here, and honestly, they can ask more questions, but we do have Charles Lingerford here,
Oh, okay.
and he is running for county judge.
County treasurer.
County treasurer, I knew that.
Linger Felt. You're getting Felt.
I know him, I say.
I don't know
Come up
if you
here and
remember us talking on the phone.
Oh, you talked to
That's
him?
right.
Yes.
That was recent too.
Yeah, within the last year or two.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, I'm Charles Lingerfeld. I've been an activist since early 1970s. First campaign I got involved in was 1972 for a guy running for United States Senator whose name was John Tower. And didn't really plan on getting really involved in that campaign. And so I decided I'll work with you in one county, and that was Leon County. And as it turned out, I ended up working in Leon County, Freestone County, Madison County, Brazos County, Washington County, and about 7 counties. Because as you are an activist, and when you get your feet wet, you kind of, I don't know, it gets in your blood. You get established with it. And so in 1976, I voted for the wrong person for president, Jimmy Carter. Found out a lot of people voted for Jimmy Carter. And I've been embarrassed over that ever since, and I've been working hard since to make up for it. So I am on the Republican ticket. That doesn't mean that I'm a total Republican cow. But I'm more of an independent type of person. I think. I do my own thinking. And I like to plan. I like to read. And so in 2012, I ran against John Wiley Price and was hoping to defeat him. But I gained more votes against him than anyone else has ever gained against John Wiley Price. 56,000 votes. And I lost in the early voting, which you probably know. He killed me in the early voting.
In my opinion, he controls the election.
Yes, he does.
And it was stolen, no question about it, and the feds let it happen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So since then, I've been wondering if I should get involved anymore. Some people have asked me, would I get involved? And I thought about running for Congress against Eddie Bernice Johnson. But if I did that in District 30, I wouldn't gain, I couldn't use some of the votes that I had gained in Mesquite and Garland and Sunnyvale. In the 2012 general election, I got more votes in Sunnyvale than anyone on the ticket, including the presidential candidate. I got more votes there. Those people know how to vote. Because I think something like 88 to 90% of the people in Sunnyvale voted Republican. And I'm quite pleased that I got more votes than any other person on the ticket. But I wanted to use those 56,000 votes somehow because I know the people like me. They know I'm independent, and they know I don't compromise, and they know that I'm a strong conservative, and I'm not a conservative in name only. I'm not a Chino. I am a conservative to the bone marrow and in the heart. And so I figured out that if I ran for a county position, that I could kickstart the campaign from using the 56,000 votes to the rest of the county. And if I plaster my name all over the county after the primary, because I don't have a competitor in the primary, then I probably can collect 200,000 votes or more. And so that is my goal, to collect 200 to 250,000 votes in November of this year. I'll win the primary. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money on the primary, but I do need your help because we do need some signs out there in the county
You mentioned that he beat you during early voting.
Yes.
Do you have any feel for how he did that?
Controlling of the machines.
Absolutely.
Okay,
There's no paper.
Can I tell you of a project the League of Women Voters is going to do this November that hopefully will fight that? Yeah, yeah. Let me give this, because we may need volunteers for this. I'm on the board of directors for the League of Women Voters here in Dallas. It's a wonderful organization. Men do belong, by the way, so you can join. This November, we are going to do a signage project that we've actually done for the last 2 major elections in smaller ways. We we've gotten approval from the county election voting people. They have given us 2 random lists, we're going to pick one, of the 25 early voting locations, and we're going to target half of them. And what we're going to target them with are huge signs that we're going to put at all of the major intersections within 1.5 to 2 miles of every early voting location. They just basically say, early voting today, and they have an arrow pointing left or right. And then the county is going to make, we've requested 600 signs like that to use they gave us basically 13 voting locations. And then we're going to have a little trail, breadcrumbs, of smaller signs with arrows pointing straight up, leading you to the early voting locations. They are nonpartisan. We're going to go to all the city councils involved to get approval to put them in the right of way only during early voting. We need volunteers to help put them up at every location and then take them down on the very last night of early voting. But basically, we've done that, and the target locations we've done it at have seen as much as a 40% increase in votes, and we think we can get that. But hopefully that'll change some of that dynamic.
One point to add, and this is for your interest. Early voting is non-paper.
I know,
It's non-paper. That's why I'm not for early voting.
That's
However,
the
I would add, and I would volunteer for this because this would be significant. As many people as possible and for outside the precinct for exit polling. Who'd you vote for, please? Who did you vote for, please? Exit polling, and if there's shenanigans, Lingy, we'll get them.
Well, in recent years, has
Very
been
important.
total for the early
Very
voting
important.
increase.
For the past 20 years, I have voted by paper ballot only. I will not vote
Yes.
by the machine, because machines can be triggered a certain direction. And
Yes.
that's where you killed me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I appreciate you running for the Republican Party, which I am. But since you mentioned that you are independent, if you were to vote for a party, independent party, which one would you choose to be with?
It'd probably be the Constitution Party of the United States of
We
America.
on the same page.
Yeah. If I ever leave the Republican Party, and if it keeps going the way it's going, I probably will leave the Republican Party, to be honest with you. Because I want to be in a party that not only speaks from the mouth, but speaks from the heart. We are constitutional. We live and stand by it. That's why some of the moderates in the Republican Party can't get along with me, is because I speak my opinion. I'm a thinker. I'm a free thinker. And I am dyed in the wool constitutional. Don't take away my rights. I'll fight you. And I'll put a sign on my door. We believe in the Second Amendment. If you don't trust us, try to come on in and you'll find out. We don't call 911 here.
Would you tell the people, again, tell them about your CD, but what does the county treasurer do? And then also who can vote for you?
Yes, anybody that's registered to vote in the county can vote for me, Dallas County. If you're not registered, like if you moved here recently and you're not registered, get registered now, because you have to be registered 30 days prior to any election in Texas to vote in that election. So please be sure you're registered. Do not vote by the machine, the early voting machine, but vote by paper ballot, please. Okay?
Name.
Huh?
Say your name again.
Charles Lingerfeld,
Running for,
Dallas County Treasurer. The treasurer is the chairman of the bank of the county. He doesn't control the money that comes in for the county. I will have a conflict with John Wiley Price because I have to be subject to the county commissioners. And so I ask for your prayers there because I'm not going to take any foolishness from.
Is any trouble right now?
He is, and we hope and pray that he'll be indicted. They'll open the indictments in federal court and send the man. He'll have to have a trial, but I hope he goes to prison because that's where he needs to be.
What is it, the current issue?
The current issues?
Against him?
4. One of them, which was money laundering. They found about $200,000 cash in his safe at his home. They called people out to unlock the safe. When they found it, then they called someone out to his house and they hauled off the safe because it had other information in there, which they have found and are using. I even went down there to the U.S. Attorney's office one day back in June when we were there, and I went up there and I asked to speak with the U.S. Attorney. Of course, she's busy and can't come out, but can I speak with one of her assistants? And the lady came out and I said, "Are you guys afraid of John Wiley Price?" I introduced myself and told her who I was, and I said, 2 years ago you went went into the home of legally and found information in his home, and you've done nothing about it yet. And all her answer was, "Well, sir, I can't comment on an ongoing trial." But I said, I hope you do something because the man has been a criminal for 27 years and has developed a criminal network in the county, and nobody's, it appears to me that everybody's afraid of him.
A lot of people are.
Get on the ball and let's get something done. So,
It's a matter of legal record that he was a rapist, and it was on the book for 3 or 4 years and it went away. A rapist. Okay. But he's getting away with what, a lot, and why?
yes. And Mayor Laura Miller, I knew her quite well. And I supported her. But she was a Democrat, but she was a strong bookkeeper and could go in there as mayor of the city of Dallas and get some things done that we needed to get done. And so I told her that I would vote for her and I would support her before her campaign. And then she was stalling right after 2001 when we needed a resolution passed from the city promoting the National Day of Prayer. And they were afraid that we would be giving, they were afraid of this separation of church and state issue, and they didn't want to create any bad ill feelings with Muslims or anybody else that was living in the city as a county. I called her up one day and I left a hot message, and she called me back, and she says on the phone, I could tell I was on the speakerphone, and she says, "Mr. Lingerfeld, what can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, I want a resolution for this National Day of Prayer, and you guys are dragging your heels." And she had the city attorney in the office with her. Said, "Well, what disturbed you most about it?" I said, "Well, we've been down there and we've signed paperwork, we've asked for it, and you guys are just dragging your heels. Now, I want it, and I want it within 24 hours. And so she said, "We'll get you a resolution." And she said, "Now, I want you to know, Mr. Lingerfeld, that we don't want to offend any Muslims who live within our city or our county." I said, "We're not going to offend anybody. This is our right. We have the freedom to stand down there and have a National Day of Prayer and pray for America and pray for the city and the county." She said, "I'll get it to you. It'll be done. You come down tomorrow morning and you can pick it up." I said to her, "Ms. Miller, no, I supported you in your campaign. These people don't see like we see. We worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob," because I knew she was Jewish. "And they just don't pray like we pray." She said, "Well, I agree with you, Ms. Lingerfeld, but I got it done." I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm not afraid of John Wiley Price. But I am running for county treasurer, and if I have a confrontation with him, I'll stand against him. I'll stand up against him any day. He doesn't fear, he's not afraid of me, I don't suppose, but I certainly am not afraid of him, and I've told him to his face. I'm the guy, if you'll search the video, where it says on Google, you can Google it, you're all hell, you're all, what do you say to it? You're all white, go to hell. I was the guy standing in the back, the bald-headed guy that stood up and said, you have asked for our reverence down here?
Respect.
Respect. We have given it. We demand some respect from you. And that's when John Wiley shouted out, you're all white, go to hell. And there was almost a fight down there that day. But anyway.
But you didn't get banned for 6 months like I did. Remember what I said? I said, Mr. Price, whose court is this? Yours or we the people's? Mr. Price, whose court is this? Yours or we the people? Banned for 6 months for asking that question.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, and then I was banned for a year because I said, is this about live free or die bold? Is this some fraud going on here? Then they banned me for a year.
I was down
But
there
he's
with,
been there. He's been right
with
facing the demon Price. Excuse me, I'll use that term.
They hauled him out, picked him up and hauled him out. I was there that day.
Right.
We've gone down there. I've been going down there since 1998, speaking ever so often at the county commissioner's court. Now, my friend Bill Sherrick wrote a song, A New Day in America. I think he did a pretty good job. He did all the music. He got Pastor Broden and myself, Bishop Lawson's daughter, some other people together, and we laid down the tracks. He engineered it, he crafted it, he wrote the song, and now we're selling the song on a CD, and it's gone all over the nation. And it's on radio stations, and we're hoping to play it in every senatorial district meeting and the state convention this year. It's a unique song, it just sells for $5. $5 goes back to Bill because I'm just a promoter. But later on down the road, if we sell a whole bunch of these, the ones who sing on here gets a little royalty check. So that's why I was promoted. Thank you for your time.
All right, well, let's see now. I've got to recap a little. Well, our guest speaker didn't show. Let me check my phone really quick here. She tried to call. I don't see a call necessarily. But Sandra Crenshaw was our guest speaker. She was coming from another event, but I talked to her late in the day. She was very excited to be here, but something happened and she's not here. So we're 5 minutes to 9. Basically, she was a former city council person, and she's still an activist, and one of her passions is that her? No, that's Albert. Is the corruption in the city council. She would have brought us maybe some more information, but you touched on a lot of what we were, looking for about the fraud. We all know we need to fight it. As activists for truth, that's one of our issues, is voter fraud and how we can be poll watchers, get involved. There's a group that's called True the Vote, and he came and spoke here talking about a plan of how you can be trained to see what's going on, and how you can report.
Even election judges and associate judges and clerks, you're needed there because you can eyeball and you can see corruption. Right. It's very important.
So, and I want to also, yes, so that's that. We're going to be moving forward on that. And the city council we'll be visiting them again after the meeting of the 20th. So we'll talk about that on the 20th. And this is for getting, hi guys, hi. This is for getting chloride out of the water. So, and there's, okay, so, I don't want to go there right now. What I do want to go there is about Richard. Like I said, Richard's talked to us before several times about his event of going to the city council. I hardly ever need a drink, but I need a drink. About going to the city council. Now, the way the city council works, which we know very little, but we know some of the procedure, is you have to sign up for it. You have to get your name on the list. Now, since the last time when we went, we all went in the afternoon. There were 5 of us that went, and we waited all day for our 3 minutes, We have now learned that it's better to go in the morning because you get in and out between 9 and 9:30, okay? So Richard wants to see who will sign up. I'm gonna have him address it again, but I just wanna lay it out here. Because we'd have to get our names in sooner, by the 16th, is that right? To be there on the 22nd?
In other words, every Thursday morning, after a city council meeting, whether it's a briefing or an agenda meeting,
Right.
8:15 in the morning, it's a land rush. You get on the phone. And you can also email at the same time. You can
Always the day before.
That Thursday after, the Wednesday. City council meetings on every Wednesday, 4 times a month. If it's the fifth week, you know. So you're in the agenda, which is a big horseshoe briefing, agenda briefing. So Thursday morning, I'm giving you some secrets now. Thursday morning, at 8:15, when they open the doors, you either push that button and send your email, or you get on the phone. Okay. Most of the time, you'll be okay, because if you see the pitiful attendance, 2 people, 3 people showing up, and you got major issues, major corruption, you're still involved in the biggest corruption case in the history of Dallas. We did the one with Fantastic and Miller, and now we got Mr. Price. But City Hall is involved with the Mr. Price situation because you got Mike Rollins, excuse me, giving $350,000 to Kathy Neely, and then you got Leopard stopping the inland port situation. So, I mean, the corruption's unbelievable. So again, 8:15 that Thursday morning on the phone, or if you want to have 5, and I'm working on 5. Do you have those flyers available? I'm going to pass out the flyers. The flyer I'm going to give you has to do with Jericho Day. I pretty much have the
Would
5.
you do me a favor, would you stand up here? Because the photographers are always like,
No.
it's up to, stand over here, and the microphone is there. There you go.
Thank you. This is 2
But just give a few to Raylene, and she'll pass them around. There you go. I'll do it for you.
Yeah, there's 2 up, but basically, I think maybe Virginia is suggesting that perhaps you'll like make copies, you can cut them up yourself. Basically, it's a brief summary, Jericho Day, please come and see and be heard.
Do you have more
I'm
copies?
facilitating it, organizing it, setting it up, and leaving it up to the man upstairs for it all to come together. I went downtown, and was able to get a minister, street minister sign up, and an advocate providing a way to get out of addiction. Myself, Prophet Sandy Kensher, one of them. So I got the 5 in the morning pretty much settled, but if somebody feels real passionate about a subject, I can sign you up, because what I'm gonna do, again, secret, is have 6 cards or 7 cards. I'll be by the door at 8:15 on Thursday morning, they open up the door, stamp them. Because that's the best way for sure to get your 5.
This says 8:20.
Well, I put 8:20 because I cheated. I want to give myself 5 minutes. I'm bad. You caught me. You're a smart man. And I'm being honest because he's watching. He's watching, right? So hopefully they'll come together. We'll have in the morning, in the afternoon, and there's a street minister that has 300 people down across the bridge every Sunday, giving food and hygiene kit, plus at Thanksgiving Square. We want people to come out that know what's going on, that want a better way, provide, not just complaining, but what is the better way? The better way would be number 1, Mr. Treasurer. Okay, here it is. It's a matter of fact that the county spends $45 million a year in jailing the homeless, approximately. They spend over 60 or 70 million a year in the pay later cost of healthcare. So you're looking at a 2 to 3 times cost of providing basic shelter. I'm talking to start off with a mat on the floor, in a safe environment. It couldn't even be a tent city. It could be, how about tents at churches? You got out porta potties and you go inside once or twice a week. Or the Trinity River, you got tents. It only floods twice a year. Well, they like probably at the flood, that's the campus down there, let's get rid of them. Or Mr. Caraway, let's put on a bus and get them out of it. Don't get me going on Mr. Caraway, who is a black city council member.
Mayor Pro Tem.
He used to be. They demoted him because of his thing with Vic and all the other. Look at me, Mr. Caraway, okay? He betrayed the black community. You got blacks that betrayed the black community, Hispanics that betrayed the black community, and then you got the all-caps white man. There's not an all-caps white man in here, I don't believe. 5 or 10% that betrayed their own, they don't care, and they'll get those to serve them for money. So if you feel in your heart, you want to be there in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, it may start at 1:05 or 1:30 or 2:30 or maybe 3 o'clock to speak in the afternoon. That's why it's more convenient to speak in the morning, but it's only 5. At the county, it's unlimited, and you're only hanging around an hour and a half. So each venue is different. So thank you very much, appreciate that. Pray for us, if nothing else. But bring the horns with you if you want to be involved.
Now, Joanne wants to ask you a question, and then with this, get with Richard, because he has cards, if anyone wants to sign up to speak about
That's
this.
the afternoon, I'll sign you up right now.
Okay, and
for the
then
afternoon
between
speech.
now
I
and
got cards with me
then,
too.
we'll also
Another
have
secret.
another meeting, we're gonna meet next Monday, and we can talk a little more about what it is that you would be saying during your 3 minutes, and stuff like that, so don't get too
Can
thrown
I say
off guard
something,
here.
please?
Yes,
Richard's doing all the work for us, and he leave on Social Security or whatever. If he can find to contribute something for him to continue to do what he's doing, we'll be grateful to receive it. Thank you.
yeah, printing costs, there is a lot of cost.
No, anybody, if you want to take this to a copy center, it's set up. This is like, he was in charge. Copy them, have them cut them, and just pass them around.
And when you
That-
read
that-
it, you'll
that's-
understand.
Because Regina has been making copies. Good team here, and I've been spreading them out downtown. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
I
Okay.
was just gonna say quickly that in Tulsa, when I did like homeless ministry for several years, they built this huge facility, and then the fire codes were, they could only have a certain number of people in there. I mean, and they had this old dump before that, and they'd pack as many people as they could in, and
There's
the
so
roof was
much-
leaking. So they go through all this big expense, and the utilities were exorbitant, and they spent all this money, and people were still sleeping outside.
Right.
So
So
that's
I don't
what
know,
we
it
need
doesn't
to
make
be
any
involved.
sense to me.
Well,
What
the
are you
government
trying to do? So
is
you
not
can't
serving
just-
us.
so- What's that?
The government is not serving us the way it is.
Right, so
No, they're
you
not.
can't really open up the churches and the floors in them because there's fire codes, you know, I mean,
Well, you know what is that called? Disobedience, what's it called?
Civil disobedience.
Civil disobedience. Our open carry people that we were talking about, you know what they did? Because there's all these rules about you have to get a permit to give away food to the homeless, and where? They didn't. They got a bunch of food and they gave it out. They fed 300-400 people, they had their guns on them, and they were like doing a community service, and it was exposure of the Second Amendment also. Went fine, the police came up and said, "What you doing?" "Oh, we're feeding some people." It went fine. So sometimes we need to take charge and not always be worried about some of the rules and all that stuff if it doesn't make any sense. And then maybe some of those stupid things will start changing. So there's a big story about all this. So our presentations are put on our website, okay? So you go to activistfortruth.com. At the top it says presentations, drop down. Richard's presentation about, this Jericho Day is on the website. Today what we've done will be on the website. And we can keep going forward and directing people there to get caught up to where we are, okay? Now, Albert was talking about, when you were talking about be registered to vote, I guess it was Charles, it's true, you gotta be registered to vote 30 days before the election. And you can get, and then he said, talk about how you get registered to vote. Do you guys have any voter registration cards with you?
I do in my car.
Right.
Oh, it's probably just for county only though, so, yeah.
Okay, well,
Is it okay to go just with a driver license?
no, you have to be registered to vote. You can bring your driver's license to prove it's you if you don't have your card with you, and you'd be on the roll.
Okay, how do we register?
Okay, you have, excuse me?
I'm a registrar, I'll bring some next week.
Okay, he's a voter registrar, and we usually talk in our groups to get a voter, so he'll bring a card for you, fill it out, and then you'll be registered at that moment, because he's legal to do it. There's these other white cards that you can get at the library, you can get them at the driver place, what they call driver registration place. There's several places you can get cards, and we used to always have them on us. You fill them out, and you mail them in, okay? You just have to make sure that it's done a month before, that'd be March 7th, what is the?
February 4th, because March 4th is the primary.
February 4th.
Yeah.
Yes, March 4th is the primary day, okay? So and I'm finding out that the city council, they vote, their voting day is May 4th, I think? I think it's May.
Not this May, year from
Next
May.
May, okay. So there's so many things, but you don't need to think about that. It's the primary we're interested in, which is coming up on March. But we have another person introduced here, a good longtime friend, two of them. I love them very, very much. Stacy Chen is running for Congress. And hello, Stacy. A dear friend of mine, Chris McNutt, is her sidekick. I guess I don't know what your title is. Campaign manager. But he's a patriot, a friend, and I love him. But we're going to give some time to Stacy Chen to talk about what your issues are and why you're running and where you're running. Oh, and then we actually have Sandra Crenshaw too. So I guess we're going to go a little long tonight. Anybody who feels
If y'all
as though
don't
they-
mind, I appreciate you.
Okay, well, all right, so Stacy, tell us where your district is and what we can do, and just remember, guys, if you don't live in our district, doesn't mean you can't help her. So go ahead, Stacy.
Well, first off, thank you, Regina, for inviting me, and thank everybody for having me here. And I'm waiting.
Excuse me, she's gonna wait until we're quiet again, because we're gonna give her our attention, okay? Okay, here we go. This is Stacy, okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stacy Chen. I'm running for the Texas House of Representatives in District 66, which is in Collin County. It serves mostly West Plano with a small section of the far north Dallas. Really, what got me activated and really involved in politics is, sitting on the sidelines and watching our country go down the drain, and realizing that, sitting at the side and watching it and yelling at it isn't actually going to do anything. I really had to step up and actually get involved and get active. And so I'm, really happy that, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in here that, we've worked together for some time, previously on, presidential campaigns and local campaigns as well. But really what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to start a different type of conversation that's going on in politics. One is to get a lot of more young activists involved. A lot of us have become very disillusioned with politics, and I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have as well, but started to realize that we have a voice, we need to step up, and we need to get involved. And so really I'm trying to do that with the younger generation, with people my age, and saying, I know it's frustrating to have to sit at the sidelines and watch our country go down the drain, but that's not the only option that we have. We can really get involved locally at the state level and even at the national level with change. And second, it's really just about, spreading the message of liberty. So really getting back to a limited constitutional government, really getting back to fiscal responsibility, and really returning power to the American people. So those are, three of my main things that I'm really trying to do in my district, and really for the state of Texas and for all of the people, not just in my district, but just all of the people that reside in Texas. And so, if you'd like to know more about me, you can go to my website. It's www.stacyfortexas.com, and I'd be happy to speak with y'all afterwards.
Who's your competition?
I am up against two other people who are running. One of them is Glenn Callison, and one of them is Matt Schumann.
Is that a primary?
Yes.
Who are you running, who's the seated one that's gonna be there?
The incumbent is Van Taylor. He's actually leaving this seat to run for the state senate,
open
so
seat.
it's an opening.
Good.
Yes.
Good,
But it's the most contested race in Collin County at this point, other than the Collin County Precinct 1 Commissioner race.
Are you
That's-
serving North Dallas too?
Only a small section of far north Dallas.
75248, are you serving
No,
that?
it's 75252.
That's S-T-A-C-E-Y,
S-T-A-C-Y.
C-Y.
C-Y.
Okay,
STACYFORTEXAS.com.
thank you.
Chris has got some handouts that he'll give you. There you go. And just remember, because for years I hear people, oh, she's not in my district. That does not mean you can't help her. You might or might not know somebody in that area. Keep some flyers, hand them around. If you get a bumper sticker, put it on your car. I mean, there are ways to help financially. And word of mouth, just getting the word out is real important. So, remember that. Go ahead.
Do you have an opinion about the redistricting that Texas has been going through and this addition of our current redistricting lines?
Well, basically, whenever they come down to redistricting, it's all gerrymandering. It's all people who are in charge of that. It was interesting, actually, because we just came from another meeting where Matt Rinaldi was speaking, and he was saying that within this past year, when they redistrict, apparently the person that he's running against was able to slip in something that redistricts just his one house outside of his district.
That's right.
So, how to say-
Just his house?
They do that.
Unbelievable.
Oh, no, they've done that for years.
And I was, I've heard some crazy stories, but, to hear it live and know the person, it was
would you work on legislation to help stop stuff like that and get it out of the legislative arena so that an independent commission does the redistricting?
Yes, I would love to, but first I need to get that seat.
Oh, I know. But if you could articulate that kind of legislation, you may get a lot of votes.
Yes.
That is something that bugs people a lot, is the gerrymandering and the, yes, that's something that you just even bring it up. This gentleman is in that position to actually work on the gerrymandering process, so you two need to talk, because he might have some points for you to mention. Well, just remember, she's here, so y'all talk to her, and get anything and all that stuff. We're gonna introduce our guest speaker here. She's a little, so now I love you. She's a good kid. Really hard to hear. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Richard might want to say a word about you also, but we are.
Oh, let's not waste the time.
No, we'll waste
Richard's
the
gonna
time.
say.
All right,
I'm gonna say something.
We'll talk about his thing on
She talks more than I do, but whatever. No, Shannon Crenshaw is an independent black activist in Dallas, Texas, and that's saying a lot. Independent black activist. She goes down there and confronts black city council members who, in my opinion, does not represent the constituency. She goes down there in front of John Wally Price, the black woman, and confronts him. God bless you.
All right, thank you very much. Happy New Year to everybody. How many of you were able to see the Nelson Mandela movie over the holidays? Anybody see Nelson Mandela?
The documentary?
The
Or?
documentary. Well, it was a movie
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
It was another actor who played the role. But at the end, they showed a clip when he was explaining to the South African government, who were saying, please, we can't let the country tear up, kind of like the Civil War and Lincoln's plea. And he said, and they showed clips of them, rioting and throwing rocks, the Africans there. And so he said, it is going to be a challenge to try to convince my people that they can earn their freedom by making a mark. By making a mark, that they can earn their freedom. And of course, they had faith, and he asked them to go out there, and they were able to get some advances in democracy in South Africa. I am running in House District 110, but I'm actually running against injustices that are committed against us by abusing the government and legal process. I have been a civil rights activist for 40 years. I moved to Dallas in 1974. And so this will make my 40th year of trying to improve the quality of life of African Americans and my own personal neighborhood. I live in South Oak Cliff. All right, so what we're seeing, I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but this year is the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, the 50th anniversary. And so I can't see me spending 40 years trying to protect those rights that were given to me, that people died for. And they aren't civil rights just for African Americans. They're your civil rights, the right to freedom of speech, the right to assemble, and the right to petition your government without fear of reprisal and retaliation. The right to have privacy in your home, people coming off in your home. And yet we see every day. Now guys, I hope you don't think that the New Jersey traffic gate is an isolated incident. Okay? This goes on all over the country. All over the country where dissidents are being retaliated against for exercising their speech. I am so glad that Mr. Betson is here. Mr. Betson and I met on the trail for doing redistricting. So the greatest platform that I have in this year's race is my opponent, okay, ran for the open seat that Barbara Mallory vacated to run for Congress. And it was a decennial year. So in the decennial years, you do your redistricting. Now, the purpose of redistricting is to protect the one man, one vote right, so that all of the state house districts, all of the single member districts, the city council districts, have approximately the same amount of people. Then the Voting Rights Act and various sections of that act also said that you could redraw the lines to give minorities the opportunity, didn't say that they had to be elected, but you could use redistricting to kind of put like communities together in hopes that the minorities would be able to elect people of their own choosing. And so, therefore, there have been several lawsuits in the state of Texas, in the South, including the state of Texas, against this Voting Rights Act, saying that we're now post-racial, and we've seen cases where, particularly in the Hispanic community, you would draw a district for them, and we did that here in Dallas, and they weren't able to because they were not citizens and thus ineligible to vote. Okay, so in Dallas, what we did in redistricting in 1994, the African Americans committed that we would not run a Hispanic, we would not run a black in the seat that was drawn for Hispanic. This year, Bill Betson and all of us got out there very hard, and it's a very tedious job. You know, and I teased Best that Phil was going through and every dot on that map that showed that it was a Hispanic surname, he was doing the bill, trying to draw. But Bill doesn't like gerrymandered districts. He doesn't like that. It doesn't look nice to him. And so he would always try to draw them in a straight line, which means going down a street or following a creek. And those are some guidelines for redistricting. That the voting tabulation districts are done. You try to keep, because you don't want somebody on one side of the street and one side of the highway to be in one district and the other person be in the other district. So what you try to do is you try to, have some boundaries. You don't want to go and get your next door neighbor and they be in one district. Understand what I'm saying? So you use some natural boundaries. All right. So
Community.
So what we have seen throughout the country, guys, throughout the country, every time there's redistricting, the Republicans try to draw the Democrats out of office, and the blacks try to draw the whites out of the district, and that has a little bit of validity, because when you look at defining communities of interest, it could be that if everybody in that neighborhood votes Republican, that's a community of interest. That's an identifier. If they're all African American or all Democratic, that's a common denominator. So you can do that. But when you look at these maps at the end of the day, you'll see these little wiggles that go up there. You know what that's for? I don't like so-and-so. The teacher gave my kid a bad grade, so I'm going to draw them out of the district. Go in and take your house, okay, and leave your neighbor on this side and that side and just run a little line just to pull you out. And oftentimes along the way, everybody that lives behind you. That is not fair. That serves no government purpose, okay? It serves no government purpose, because when you have those little lines to do that, guess what happens? Dallas County taxpayers have to pay a cartographer to redraw the maps. You have to have a polling place an election judge, you have to pay for the polling place, you have to pay for the election judge, and then you have voter confusion. Because if I live here and my next door neighbor's in another district and we go to the same polling place, you also have to print different ballot styles. But more so than anything else is that when you take a community or a voting block out of a precinct and out of its community of interest, you dilute their voting strength, which was what the whole purpose of voting, the section, was it section 2? I mean, not section, section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was to put like community together so that if you had a bad elected official, you could put them out of office. So bad politicians who don't have time to take care of your interests because they've taken so much money from the special lobbyists and the special interest groups that they take so much money to from people, they don't have time to take care of your interests because they got to take care of big business interests, and that's the way they vote. You dance with who brung you. So now, all over the country, what they're doing now is splitting up precincts and splitting up neighborhoods and getting together with the person next door. And I don't like Bill, and Bill's a troublemaker, see? So I don't want Bill in my district. Okay, so y'all all get the picture on that. Okay? Now, Representative Rose, freshman state representative, was appointed to serve on Texas CAN Development Board. Now, the Development Board is the board that raises funds. So she's supposed to use her influence as a state representative to go out and get funds for this school. Now, how many of you know what Texas CAN is? It's an alternative second chance charter school for kids that either have been kicked out of school, have behavioral problems, teenage pregnancies, criminal records, and they don't want to just go get a GED. So this particular Dallas CAN wanted to put, or has a planning, an SUP application before the city of Dallas, okay, to come and put one of those schools right in the center of a neighborhood, which was an old elementary school. And you know that elementary schools, it's okay for them to be in the neighborhood. They're put in the neighborhood so that you can walk them to school, you can watch them. The people in the neighborhood, they're looking out for the little kids that are trying to walk home. You don't put people who are already demonstrated that they have a problem fitting into society. You don't take 380 of these kids and plop them in an old elementary school in the middle of a neighborhood, okay? And what makes it worse is that they're not allowed to use the Dallas County bus system, and it's very, very difficult because these people are coming from all over, everywhere. And in this particular case, they'll be coming from Lancaster, DeSoto. They can come from any place in Dallas County. So in New York, you have the Statue of Liberty that says, "Bring me all your poor."
Tired and hungry and
so
dysfunctional.
Texas CAN is saying, all of y'all out here, come on over here to this neighborhood. It's already blighted anyway. It's already got crime statistics. It's already got an I-20 truck stop known as the I-20 prostitute ring there on I-20. This is a neighborhood, this is a school about 10 blocks away from I-20, okay? So DISD.
What's the name of it?
Alta Mesa Elementary School, okay, Alta Mesa Elementary School. Now, Alta Mesa Elementary School was part of the Wilma Hutchins School District. At the time that it was dissolved, it was only one of 2 black-governed school districts in the state of Texas. But yet, it had the lowest scores. The administration and board members were paying the highest salaries for the superintendent. and they would get mad at the superintendent, and then they fire them without due process. So then the law said, you got to pay the superintendent, you got to buy him out. So at one time, they were paying 3 superintendents, just firing people without due process, okay? Paying 3. Then they decide that other prominent African Americans who have become lawyers, well, you give me a campaign contribution and I'll make sure that you get the contract. Okay. So, guy gives the board members a contract. Come to find out, his bar was suspended. So they were paying him $200,000, paying for him to $200,000 to be the district attorney, the attorney for the district, paying him $200,000, paying him $60,000 for a secretary, because they said he could office out of his law office instead of, using the building that they were already paying for. Oh, yes, sir, it gets worse than that.
Is it possible his name is Royce West?
No,
Is that a possibility?
Royce did worse. Royce did
Okay.
worse. That's why he walked out on all day, okay? Royce is a senator. He serves on the education committee. He is a lawyer and a graduate of Will Hutchins ISD. A graduate of Will Hutchins ISD. So what Royce West did, he decided to go in the tax collection business. So when everybody else went to consolidation of your taxes, Wilma Hutchins gets a tax bill from Lineberger, okay? But the ISD gets a tax collection bill from Royce West. Now, because it is a very low income area, it consists of rural cities like Wilma and Hutchins, and a government turnkey, the largest Dallas housing projects in there, they have very, very little income. So what they could not do was waive their homestead. So here with these senior citizens that over 65, they would pay their bill to Dallas Consolidation, and then they would pay their bill. So when some of the parents over there said, you know what, my kid's not getting educated, and y'all, when your kids are not educated, it has a negative impact on your total quality of life. You have to live in burger bars, because when they're not in school, they're out there roaming and stealing. Okay? When they don't have jobs because they haven't been trained and educated, they're breaking into your house. Minister Amin here will tell you that when you don't have money and you can't eat and you want things, then you're going to get angry. Okay? And so when you get angry, then your kids are going to get beat up, then you're going to have fights, you're going to have bullies. So it is a terrible situation. So there was a gentleman out there named Lionel Churchill. He was a precinct chair, and he decided enough is enough. We got to draw the line somewhere. So he told them, couldn't get them unelected because these people that were making all of this money off of them were giving them money to buy yard signs and all the things and paying off the election judges and paying off the elections department. If you don't think that the ballots go get stuff, you know, that's not democracy, but that's what happens, okay? So everybody gets paid except for the children. They don't get an education. So anyway, they had to have a bond package because the buildings were deteriorating. And they got out there with the whites in Wilmer and Hutchins who didn't have school children. They sent their kids to Ferris and Ennis and whatever. They would not send them to Wilmer Hutchins once it became all black. And that's really sad and hardens me because we worked very hard to get black people the right to sit in office. And so I say this, I can say it today because my mother did not allow me to use the N-word. And I feel very liberated. She's dead today. I feel very liberated. I can wear my own natural hair. We don't like ourselves, and we spend billions of dollars at Korean stores to make ourselves look different. But anyway, he got them to vote down bond package. Then, because they were up for accreditation, they had to have another election to get authorization from the taxpayers to increase their property taxes. They were already paying as much property tax as Highland Park. Do y'all hear me? They were paying the same rate as Highland Park. Yes, ma'am. So they needed to bump up a little bit more. So they voted that down. The whites and the educated blacks voted that down. So then it went to TEA on the accreditation. And it was a very emotional, passionate fight. Those alumni cried, the students cried. They had the #1 football team in the district, and Ron Price was over there. I want them over in my school because I want to play football, on my team. It was horrible. And the commissioner said, I'm going to make my decision on one thing. She said, both of y'all have made very good arguments. You got the inland port coming in. That's going to generate some more money. So maybe y'all will have enough money without the tax increase. She said, but I decided to make my choice on one thing. She said, on those 2 elections that you said no to the bond package and you said no to the tax increase, she said, I'm going to take that as the will of the people, that you don't want this district, that you want this district dissolved. Hereby dissolved. Okay? You talk about democracy at work and exercising that vote. That was the first time that I've seen a government official. You can't get that kind of support out of an elected official. But for a government official to make that decision on the sanctity of the vote was very inspiring to me. Now when Miss Tony Rose, his name is Miss Churchill, lives in Altamesa, Miss Churchill, they also opposed this zoning case for the Dallas Can. In June, when the Supreme Court sent the Texas House maps back to do some tweaking, to make sure that they fit within the Voting Rights Act, Tony Rose drew one of them little squiggles, Mr. Benson. Them little squiggles that you talk about that you pull people out, but you don't do that. She took out that whole neighborhood that voted to dissolve Wilma Hutchins School District and took it out of 110 and put it in a district with DeSoto. Okay? She did that with a pen. Her freshman year, had not been in office 6 months. Now, because when she was running for office, that was a decennial, so you didn't have to waive the residency requirements. But the requirement is that if you win, you have to move into the district. Okay? So if you win, you have to move in the district. You must, to hold office in a single member district, you must reside there. Now that's only in the decennial that you get that privilege, because if you don't know where the maps are and you want to run for office, you don't know what district you're going to be in, right? Okay. So she didn't live in the district. She lived in District 109. But her father lives in 110. So she filled out a voter registration card and declared her father's house as her residency. We all knew that. Her father's a former J.P. Charles Rose. We all knew that. Okay? But nobody challenged it. She was running on her father's name, and the Democratic Party and Royce and all of them wanted her in office. So, nobody challenged her. But when she dug that ditch for Mr. Churchill, and she drew herself in the new district, she didn't realize that the new district doesn't take effect until 2015. She ran for 2013. She is the representative of District 110 now. She keeps that seat until January 1, 2015. The maps are for the year ahead. See, that would like Mr. Atkins, when he was running in 2013, if he had moved his house out, he would have had to vacate the seat and run. He could run. Now she can run because she drew a map and made her residence legally in 110, but for 2015. So therefore, she did 2 things. When she drew Mr. Churchill out with evidence that he had voted against Texas Can, for which she is on the development board, and because he voted and led the charge to dissolve the district. We believe that we can effectively argue before the Northern District of Texas, the Justice Department, in federal court. We believe that we can argue that she violated Mr. Churchill's First Amendment rights. Because, what does it say? You have a right to petition the government. You have a right to grieve the government without fear of reprisal or retaliation. How would you like it if y'all speak up and the next day your whole neighborhood is put someplace else, and then you feel bad because all the other people you can't represent, don't have any clout for your whole neighborhood just because of what you did? Okay? So, we have some thoughts on that. If you were the judge, would you say that that's clearly a violation? If the violation is, now, the state and government officials judges have sovereign, some people have absolute, employees have qualified. So the first thing Representative Rose, as an official of the jail, is going to say, well, I had immunity. You can't prove that I drew him out of there for retaliation. That's subjective. Can't prove that's why I did it. But what we are asking the judge to ask her, what was the government interest in doing it? Where did you help the government? The Texas legislature several years ago, Bill, decided that we had too many precincts. So it used to be that once a precinct like I said, you have new housing development, and once they reach 3,000 voters, you can take that precinct and split it because it's got too many people in there. Well, they raised that cap to 5,000. You know why? Because splitting precincts, what does it do? It causes voter confusion. The county got to pay for the photographers, you got to pay for different ballots, you got to hire different election judges, and you got to have different polling places. So, we want the state to tell the citizens what was the government interest. The only time that you should be able to take a movement or act in government is if it's in the interest of the people. Okay? So when you abuse a government or legal process with deliberate indifference, you can abuse it because that's when that immunity comes in. I didn't know that was what I was doing. Okay? But if you can show that it didn't have government interest, then you did it with deliberate intent and thus violated it. Now, we're also going to go to a state district judge because we have evidence, or we feel, that this woman has abused us. She's abused the government process for her own personal interest. When I was telling somebody about this, some other problems that we have out there in the southern sector there, I come down there to City Hall, he said, oh, that sounds like the Don Hill case. That sounds like the corruption that, I said, baby, this is not isolated events. They do it. And what we don't know in District 8 is that we have sent 4 government officials, Al Lipscomb, Don Hill, James Fantroy, D'Angelo Lee, to penitentiary in this neighborhood in 110. The same people go down there to City Hall and say, why are you letting Mr. Atkins gerrymander that little deal out? That's a vacant lot. What is going there? Why are you letting Dwayne Caraway? That's Veterans Hospital. Veterans Hospital doesn't vote. Well, see, in addition to retaliating, they go and they say, I represent you down there, such and such and such deal. If you don't give me some contracts over there for my friends or whatever, then I'm going to hold up your stuff like traffic. I'm going to hold up and give you a hard time. And they get out there and fight to get what they call economic generators. Do you see anything in the Constitution that says that you redistrict for economic generators? You sat there and listened to that. You sat there and listened to that in the redistricting process, and nobody said anything. And unfortunately in Dallas, in the single member districts, what the mayor does is that, I don't care what the Negroes do out there, that's their own people. If their own people don't mind being abused and misused and whatever, I need those 4 votes to get my thing that I want on fracking. I need my 4 votes on hiring the city manager. I need my 4 votes on, now here they are, 4 people who represent poverty districts up there voting $12 million for a horse park, $2 million for a dog park. Mr. Atkins himself lives in a neighborhood, a very high crime neighborhood. So we have pockets of nice houses, but everything else around us, am I right or wrong? Crime rate, the statistics will show that. Does not have a recreation center. Outside the national services, they go down here and Mr. Atkins votes for $4 million for a jogging trail to attract students to UNT. But yet, the kids at J and Urban on Bonnie View and Simpson Stewart Road, 6-lane divided, major deals, don't have sidewalks. It's only $2,000 for sidewalks. But they're a portion of sidewalk petitions. And yet these kids, steady in the street. I said, oh no, I almost ran over one. I said, oh no, I'm not gonna do it. So therefore, I say that I didn't fight in the civil rights struggle to get a white man's foot off my neck, to let a nigga who lives there. That's the reason why I'm speaking against this. Now, I just left the forum. I got up, I told the Democratic Party chair, we have an African American running against the party chair for the first time. And I said, Madam Chair, why did the Democrat commissioners vote to use our tax dollars to capitulate themselves in the national spotlight on the voter suppression, voter ID law? Does everybody here have a voter ID? Do you know anybody that can cash a check without an ID? You can't pick up your medicine at a pharmacy without an ID. You can't buy beer without an ID. So if there's a problem with people getting an ID, then let's help them get an ID.
IDs to go,
Okay?
a van.
So I'm saying to you,
Come on.
they want to arrest their lawyers that they don't have any evidence. What's wrong in the name of protecting the sanctity of vote? What's wrong with being proactive? What's wrong with being proactive? Now, the reason why the Hispanics, the reason why the Republicans won't open their mouths, okay, is because they hope to attract the growing Hispanic population to vote Republican. But trust me, guys, we have plenty of voter fraud that was committed by people who didn't have an ID. Let me tell you what they would do.
I lost an election over.
Yo, did you? Okay. They will go
He
get.
was running against John Willie Price.
Okay, so why? Ingrid Feld, I didn't know you were in your group with two, Ingrid Feld. Charles, you're out there in District 8 with us. He knows exactly what I'm
And
talking
I ran
about.
for sheriff.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, but let me tell you what.
They said I got 42% of the vote, but how would you ever know?
Yeah, well, and that's why I told y'all about stuffing them ballot boxes and stuff. Okay, now listen now. The Democrats would go out and register, and all you have to do is just sign an affidavit saying that you're a U.S. citizen and that you live in the district. So we would go back. I think it was when Domingo Garcia lost the election. He hired me to do opposition research. I go and I say, all of these people live in a P.O. box? How did they get a voter registration? You went over to Steve Salazar's house. They had this editorial. He had 32 people, 32 adults living at his house in a 2-bedroom,
Steve
1-bath
Salazar.
house. The city council member.
Former city council member Steve Salazar.
Parking garage had people registered.
That's right.
Had people registered at that address.
That's right.
Okay? Then they go out and get all the homeless people. All the homeless people, okay? And they register the homeless people, and they send them to the labor pool over there. You see that he's got politician part. Or they send them to Yellow Cab's address, okay? So when all those cards come back, then what they do, they go out and get anybody picture, no race on your deal, and on early voting, where you have about 24 polling places, then they say, come on here, take about 5 people. Now, I'm gonna pay you $20 all day. What you're gonna do is you're gonna ride around with me all day, and you're gonna go in there and you vote this way. So when you go in, just so vote in the early voting place, they let them vote. Get another card, say, let's go to the next polling place. Now, I'm a party inside. Okay, I'm so tired of it.
And you can't have cameras in there, because if you record the video, the guy in the purple shirt, well, he's over here in South Oak Cliff, well, now he's over here in North Dallas.
With a different voter registration
But you can't
card.
have cameras, you can't record in the polling place, so.
But listen now. They want to say that there's no evidence of voter fraud. Okay, so what? What's wrong with being proactive? What's wrong with being proactive? Yes, sir.
LBJ had people registered who were living in cemeteries.
Yeah. That's a traditional story about voting dead people. Yeah, we vote dead people, vote people that were in jail, go down there and get the names and register them to vote, use their names and birth dates to get people to register to vote.
How can we be proactive? What can
Well,
we do?
proactive, I love what he says when he says, that Einstein said, but I don't think it was Einstein, that said that there is evil in the world.
Yes, I agree.
And it's for good people to do nothing.
It happens because good people do nothing.
Do nothing, okay?
Yes.
And I say it a different way, for evil to exist is for good people to do nothing.
Right.
So Charles knows this. If I get out here and I say, y'all, I'm just not gonna have it. Now, come on now. You know, this is just ridiculous to go out here and rob these people who, particularly my people. Now, how many of y'all, when y'all get ready to fix your automobile, go to a doctor to fix it? You go to your petition to fix the automobile in your car? No. What you do is you try to find a mechanic that look to see if they're trained, if they know what they're doing. If you see a whole bunch of cars out there that aren't repaired and whatever, you might want to think a little differently. You want to find someone that, you know, can work within your means and whatever. Too often our voters go out here and they elect people not on their training, not on their education, not on their values, not on their views, not on their commitment, because the Democratic Party said go in there and punch straight Democrat. They don't even know who they voted for. They could be voting for a Ku Klux Klan, and they don't know, but he got Democrat in front of his name. Okay?
Republicans do it too.
Yeah, I know they do. I know they do. But look, let me tell you something. Because the city of Dallas is nonpartisan, I've worked on both sides. And that's why I said the Republicans know that there's voter fraud, but they're just saying that, what you call it? There was voter fraud. Didn't you hear John Wiley Price say that Commissioner Mayfield was understaffing the clerks so that it would build a larger line? And that's the reason why we're going to fire Bruce. You know why Bruce did not file a lawsuit and did not fight back? Because the only defense that he would have for doing the things that he did is that the supervisor told him to do it, which means John Wiley Price told him to do it. John Wiley Price is the one that told him plug the machines up. John Wiley Price is the one that told him throw out the absentee ballot. John Wiley Price is the one that told him to do that. He should have said no. Okay? So see, if he had fought back, he had some vulnerabilities, and what is the word, culpabilities, there too, that he wasn't going to be able to get around.
Sure, it wasn't clean, right?
All I can say is, all I can see in his defense was that he was doing it at the direction, because what he said to the public was that when John Wiley Price told him to send some more clerks out there, he said, I take my directions from who's ever commissioner's district is in. Isn't that what he said? He said, and I don't think it's right, John, for you to come in Commissioner Mayfield's. So what he was doing was keeping his job, which is another reason we need redistricting, independent redistricting. We also need independent elections administrators. We need independent police chiefs, city attorneys, because all of them down there come in and placate elected officials to keep their jobs. Okay? Yeah, okay? So I'm hoping that, Bill, that we will be able to get some national spotlight. Dallas County going to use taxpayers' money to jump in that voter ID thing, right? Okay? So when we go to federal court and get Tony Rose and bring to national attention that in Dallas County, you had a legislature who abused the process in order to retaliate and violate one of the precinct chairs because they didn't vote that way. Okay? Get some national attention on that and see if we can get the legislatures. See, what happens is they all do it. But what happens is when you expose it and the people get outraged, we gotta do something to stop this abuse, even though they did it. No, I'm trying to tell you that. Remember the IRS violations and different things like that. So that's what we're hoping to get from filing this lawsuit. Now, remember Derek Evans, the constable, ran his campaign on the kitchen table. Okay, to run to be the constable. Jaime Cortez, both of them, on my kitchen table over there in the apartment over there on Keystone Park. And when I read in the paper that they were stopping poor people that were driving beat-up cars, thinking that they didn't have insurance. When I saw Elba Garcia make the motion to say that in Dallas County, if you're driving without insurance, not only do you get a ticket, but you get your car towed off. Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, John Wilder.
To see these two young men that I worked very hard, not only to get them elected, but to draw that Hispanic JP seat so that Jaime Cortez could sit there. When I think about the sacrifice and the nights that he did that, to get him elected, and to think that he abused that power. I met with those two gentlemen. I said, y'all need to come on. I said, just be glad that you didn't tow my hootie off. My hootie that I have to take my children to school in. My hootie that I have to go to work in. Just be glad you didn't tow mine off. I said, I'd shoot you. I would have shot you for doing something like that. And the reason why I would have shot you is because of the sacrifices that we put you down there. And do you know what you hear? Because I know you got to hear it if you're following these corruption cases. You know what their defense is? White people do it. Yes, white people, they're corrupt white politicians, but we didn't send you down there to do like white people do.
That's right.
We sent you down there to do right. We sent you down there to do right. I said, now I wish you luck. I wish you luck. Giving you a presumption of innocence, but I don't know how you're going to explain this. Well, what happened is, go down there, just like Bruce Sherbert, their only defense is that Commissioner Price told them to do it. See? He gave them the authority to collect traffic. He is the one that introduced them to the person with the tow truck company. John Bonner Price introduced them to them. Oh, you didn't know that?
Oh, yeah.
They were all getting kickbacks.
Kickback.
Do you know what they were getting? $25 a car. 5,000 poor people in their district, minority people in their district, more than major cities. Cars were being towed off. Y'all didn't hear about it? And then they were being towed to a tow truck company that was not commissioned by Dallas County, so Dallas County wasn't getting any income off of it because the money was going to the tow truck company.
Sandra, we're gonna be winding it down. I wanna ask this question. It's a big question. I got an answer, but I wanna hear your answer. Why hasn't John Wiley Price, after 2.5 years of the FBI grand jury investigation, why hasn't he been indicted?
Well, what a lot of people are not aware of is that politics controls government, okay? And prosecutors are the most powerful, whether it's a DA or a U.S. attorney, they are the most powerful seat of government in America. You know why? We're the only democratic country that gives full discretion on whether or not you indict and prosecute to the DA. Full discretion. You could kill somebody. If the DA don't want to mess with it, he doesn't. When James Fairtroy stole that money from Paul Quinn College, when he went to Bill Hill, the DA, and he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to prosecute it because see, then I got to run for office, and then the natives will all get upset, and they're going to holler and say that I'm discriminating. So Sarah Saldana barely, she had to fight to get her nomination because all of the blacks, Don Hill and Eddie and all of them, said that she was discriminating and picking on black people, that white people do public corruption, but they only pick on
She
black
was the prosecuting attorney on the Hill case.
She was the prosecuting attorney. She was an assistant U.S. attorney, Sarah Saldana. So when Sarah, who happens to be from my hometown, Corpus Christi, when she threw her hat in the ring to become Barack Obama's nominee, the black Democrats that helped him get elected go say, oh no, she's prejudiced and whatever. So I said, Sarah, I said, now, I think that's wrong for them to go against you because you prosecuted and convicted a black person. I said, but now, come on now. You subpoenaed 100 black prominent officials in this city, including Eddie Bernice Johnson. Do you really think that Eddie Bernice Johnson is going to support you? See, that's the part about not knowing how to play politics. So she went out there law and order, but then she subpoenaed 100 prominent people. Zan Holmes' wife, they played 30,000 hours of tapes and just embarrassed everybody, put a stain on.
This was for the Hill case, not for the Price case, is that right?
Hill case.
The Hill case.
Okay, so now, John Cornyn and the Republicans said, oh no, she's gonna get it. No, she's gonna get it. So all you gotta do, now let me tell you something. I don't know what your party persuasion is, but Barack Obama gets more money out of Republicans in North Texas than he does anywhere in the country. Did y'all not know that? We got 400 major corporations here. 400 major corporation executives that live in North Texas.
Very wealthy.
Very wealthy here.
Very wealthy.
He gets more money here. People with money give to the Democrats and they give to the Republicans. Green is nonpartisan.
Amen.
Money is nonpartisan. So then all you got to do, now Eddie up there trying to beat on him about Democrat, Barack Obama said, I ain't fixing to turn this money down if they're over here telling me, you gotta put that girl in there, okay? You gotta put that girl in there, okay? John Cornyn said that. He gets a big campaign contribution, and he knows that black folks, what are they gonna do? Straight Democrat, straight Democrat. Do you know that Barack Obama didn't even have a proportionate number of blacks in his cabinet? Did you know that Barack Obama, the war on poverty, he inherited that from Lyndon Baines Johnson 50 years ago. He signed that bill 50 years ago. Are blacks any better off under a black president?
They've been betrayed pretty much by Obama.
That's what I'm trying to say.
The majority believes they've been betrayed by Obama.
That's right, the majority of blacks. So we've got a long way to go. But as she said, what can we do?
Hold on, please. You didn't answer the question. Why hasn't he been indicted?
Same thing.
It's a big question.
Politics. Okay, now, wait a minute now. Now, this is where I broke with Sarah Saldana. Okay. I told her she needed to make amends with Eddie Bernice Johnson. I gave her a book on the life of Frederick Douglass. I said, homegirl, I'm so proud of you getting your appointment. I said, I hope you read this book so you can kind of understand, how blacks think, okay? And why they don't trust the government, okay? So, let me tell you, really quickly what happened. Frederick Douglass was an abolitionist, and he was standing there talking to another sympathetic white person. A white person comes by and said, "Say, we got a freedom train going across Canada, you wanna go?" He said, "Oh, thank you." So the white guy said, "Well, why you didn't take that?" He said, "You're going to Canada for your freedom." He said, "Mm-mm." He said, he came to me, didn't know who I was, said, "Come on, let's go to Canada." He said what they would do is that they would take the slaves over there to Canada and then write back to their slave owners and say, "I want that reward," and take them back, and then the slaves would get beat almost to death for running or get their legs cut off or stuff like that. So that's the reason why black people are kind of distrusting of white people. In East Texas, in modern times, you know, when the commerce says that you have to report, you can't report a sale over $10,000. Okay. So in East Texas, they knew that black drug dealers like Cadillacs, right? So the Cadillac dealer would say, they come in there and buy a Cadillac. He said, "Yeah, I let you have that $14,000 Cadillac if you give me 10 grand in cash." Yes, sir. Come in there and buy that Cadillac, and they'll drive it for about a week or so. The next thing they do, contact the government. "You got $10,000 over here." So guess what? The government lets him keep the $10,000. They go repo the Cadillac, and he gets to sell it to somebody else for $14,000. So these are the kind of things that we are faced with in the criminal justice system. So we're very distrusting of the criminal justice system. So I was trying to explain to Sarah, because she was so disheartened, you know, about, you know, having this fight with the Democrats and, you know, having to agree on Republicans. She had been a Democrat all her life. So I broke ways with her because she announced that there would be no indictments before the election because she would not want to be accused of influencing the election. Did y'all not hear that announcement?
Which, that was in the last presidential.
In and of itself influences the election.
But which election?
Right?
By the way, which election? Just
Oh, what he won,
presidential.
2012, what he just won.
Presidential.
I go like,
Exactly.
Sarah.
Exactly.
the only way that we can stop corruption is to quit voting for corrupt leaders.
That's right.
Why are you out here actually really violating his right because a grand jury is supposed to be done in secret now?
Speedy trial too.
But no, but it's supposed to be done in secret.
Right.
But they play their little games to scare everybody around you. See, that's how that works. They scare everybody around you so that people start talking so that they can have evidence on you, right? Because one of the things that, and I've had to go through this, I know firsthand what I'm talking about. Prosecution of a government official. When you get caught with your hands in the cookie jar, this is what I tell black people. It's not that white people aren't doing anything. And it's not that white people are not getting caught. It was the government. When the government comes to you, if you ever have an FBI agent come to you and ask you a question, trust me, he already knows the answer. But when the government comes to you, she's just getting glasses. We got a few more seconds. Okay? When they come to you, they say, if you plead guilty, we'll give you 3 years in time, or if it's somebody that's real prominent and very well connected, if you step down for office. So whenever you hear an elected official say, and it steps down in the middle of their term, I'm stepping down for personal reasons. Trust me, they got that call. Okay? Now, why does the government do that after they know that you're crooked? It's because the government is run by politicians, right? And what they don't want to do is to expose to the public their crookedness. So if they prosecute John Wiley, then all the little dirty secrets about how he's been doing it, and it's got so many hands. And so what you do, what they tell you that we learned from slavery, if you're gonna do something crooked, make sure you do it with a powerful white person. So that if you get caught, he gonna get you out. He gonna buy off the judge. He's gonna get you a good lawyer because he don't want to take you down. So the word is, John Wiley Price said, ain't going down on myself. So everybody gets busy. So now the deal is that John Wiley Price will not seek re-election in 2016. It will not seek reelection. He's gonna go down to his 30, that's gonna be the.
But he's training a guy to replace him now.
Yes, but guess what? Vincent Hall. Now, I don't know about me, but see, that's what happened with me and Al Lipscomb.
That's his assistant.
Yeah, that's what happened with me and Al Lipscomb. That guy is so faith-based grounded. And after this experience, because remember when they said, listen to this guys, remember when they said there was $200,000 that was unaccounted for in John Wiley Price's safe?
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, headlines, we got somebody that's gonna come forth and say that was the money. And then they turned back around and said, he withdrew. You know why? Because they said, oh, that's your $200,000? Yes, sir, that's $200,000. I don't see it reported on your income. I don't see, so now we're gonna say, so now we're gonna convict you of income tax evasion. You sure you wanna come and be friends? Oh, no, particularly. Our government is very good, but they do not want the politicians, which is the Eric Johnson, Eric Holder is a political appointee. The U.S. Attorney's Office is a political appointee. And what they do is that they tell you, if you have violated the public's trust, step down, so that way you will not be a threat to the public's trust anymore. Now, if it's so bad and everybody knows it, and somebody else wants to get you, if the big boys want to get you, they didn't do dirty hands with you, did this, and the other dirty boy wants to get your car, they'll tell you, take 5. Just plead guilty and take 5. As an incentive to take that, they said it's going to cost $1 million of taxpayers' money to prosecute you. Oh yeah, it does, bringing all those subpoenas, bringing all those deals and whatever. So to save taxpayers' money, they try to cut a deal with you. But they tell you, if you take us to trial and you get convicted, you're going to get it elevated. So when everybody's saying, oh, Don Hill, I mean, he didn't deserve 18 years. But he cost the taxpayers $1 million to prosecute that case. And he knew he was guilty. He didn't have a chance. He tried to race bait his way out of the deal. He tried to race bait his way out of the deal. And so he didn't get anywhere with that, and I really feel sorry for him. I have decided, Rick Sheridan, that, my neighborhood is the one that got all those black people in my neighborhood. Mr. Atkins today is doing the same thing, same very thing, to the same precinct chairs, and we're going like, do these guys not get it? We're not taking it over here, okay? We're not gonna take it. And so guess what? I said to them, I am tired of seeing little black children crying when their daddies are off to jail, okay? It impacts their children, their grandchildren, their co-workers.
Education.
All of that. It's negative. So I'm asking y'all, what do we do? I'm tired of having these convictions and whatever. And y'all, the reason why my neighborhood had to go this route is because we live in what's called Singing Hills. We live down at the bottom. So Singing Hills is the highest elevated point in Dallas County. So when you do construction on that hill, when you put UNT Dallas on that hill, and you put all that concrete there, where does the rain go when the rain goes and it hits that concrete? Straight down, okay? So let me show you how dirty they are. So we had this experience when they put Camp Wisdom Road in here, okay? So they have what you call green tag. So my neighborhood, we all,
I know, we love it.
Sandra, you could go on until 11 o'clock.
okay, they're closed.
You are perpetual motion.
But that's the reason why. Listen,
The closest thing to
We
it.
gotta get the punch line.
Okay, okay.
Water.
So what we did was, when they were doing the housing
on the
development next door to our house,
Behind the mic.
when they were doing, what are you gonna do with this? You might find me in the Trinity River. I might get that in the Trinity River.
We're gonna send it to John Wiley Price.
Yes, you're gonna sell to John White. No, I think that people need to educate everybody.
We do.
Because let me tell you what happened. So we hired an attorney. Y'all gotta listen to this. We hired an attorney attorneys to do what they call a red tag, saying, no, this project is gonna cause us to flood. So we put the red tag on there. The developer said, in order for us to put the proper restraints on that property to keep it from flooding, it's gonna be cost prohibitive. So I'm walking away from the project. So Mr. Fantroy gets the city attorney to tell him that the red tag goes to the developer, not the property. So the day before the zoning permit to get it permitted, the property owner sells the property to his son-in-law, and then the red tag goes away because the red tag goes with it. Said, okay. The first rain, you know how you put the infrastructure in first, the sidewalks and everything first. The first rain that happened after they put those sidewalks in, 5 people almost lost their lives because all that water went downhill. And in 3 minutes, that property was up the air. And do you know, Don Hill and Fantroy ran over there to those people, started telling them, here you can get a second chance insurance. So people don't really realize the negative impact. If we let them continue to do stuff like that, we have higher insurance rates. Every time somebody almost gets flooded out, then we're going to lose our insurance rates. And so that was the whole reason of having building codes and inspections and permit, to make sure that what you were doing was safe. So guess what? We told the city said, no, Ms. Crenshaw, we done paid too much money against you already. We're going to go ahead and approve $31 million to correct what those guys did. See, it was going to cost $31 million to put the property deals in there, so he had to walk away from it. Okay? Had to walk away. Now, he could do $31 million if it was in Highland Park or Frisco or whatever. He was going to be selling $2.5 million, and he couldn't get but $100,000 for a house. So he walked away, they flipped it to the deal, gave him the proof, let him put the infrastructure. And then, by the way, we also paid $1 million for the infrastructure. We bought the sidewalks. And the streets, super wide streets. Go ahead and run this street. I'm not going to run this street. And you can just see it, guys. You can just downhill.
Will you come back and talk to us?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want to come back and tell us how to fix it.
Yeah. We're going to predict.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below. Better yet, like us, follow us, or subscribe to us, and get notices of all our videos. We love it even when you call. When visiting Madeline's restaurant on Mockingbird, tell them you want your reservation to the next activist meeting. Space is limited, so make your reservations early. Call 214-696-0800.